Oh my god, guys, the spirits are with us. I'm so excited. Welcome to Movies, Music, and Mayhem. It's week fucking show, I don't know, 63? That sounds about right. I am so excited to bring my guest on. This is somebody who aesthetically you would never really put the two of us together, I don't think. But when you do in real life, it's like putting peanut butter and chocolate together. We're just a really fun, sassy mix. So, guys, you know her. You love her. I do too. Everybody, VIDEODREW.
What up? What up? Hi, guys. I made it. Perfect start.
Just amazing. Just so good. I love that you were late to tweet. That was perfect.
I was doing it the second you brought me on camera while eating an ice cream.
As soon as you looked up, my phone lit up and I was like, oh, I have a tweet from VIDEODREW saying that we're live. And we are.
I used my time in between that I was supposed to be here and now very wisely by eating an ice cream pop and not finishing it all the way.
It's hot down there right now, right? It's like in the 90s or right?
I can't remember the last time it rained, and that was a big fear of mine growing up was drought, which was weird when I lived in Newark, Delaware, and was 6, but less weird now that it's coming true in California.
How long did you live in Delaware?
Most of my childhood until high school. We moved. I got one of those cool movie style things where I moved a week before school started my freshman year of high school. And was okay, time for a revamp. So I changed my name. I went by Sarah up until then, which was my first name. I changed my name to Drew, right before high school started. And I was everyone will know, won't know me, so I can just reinvent myself. But I did all sorts of wrong. But the one thing that I did right was recall myself Drew.
Yeah, but that's amazing. That's literally something that I don't think anybody has the opportunity to do these days.
No, not unless you move.
You cannot reinvent yourself. I mean, it would involve I guess I could lose 100 pounds and start modeling, and then people would be that's not Rachel, and I'll have to go by my middle name Michelle, and it'll just be real weird and it'll be fun, but everyone would be oh, remember when she was fatter, and pull up all my pictures from that now.
It's sort of what college is, right? Because I did kind of that. I lost a lot of weight between junior and senior year because of the magic of self-discipline and also mostly drugs. So when I started college, I'd gone from being I remember senior year, people started treating me different in school. And I was oh, I'm suddenly popular. That's dope. But I was really bitchy too. So whatever. Sorry if I can't curse on this program.
Oh, babe, this is my show. Of course you can fucking curse.
Fuck yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Fuck yeah. I can curse. This is not suitable for children. I remember when I went to college, though, I was I already changed my name, but now I'm also a cooler, thinner, prettier version of myself who everyone will just assume is mean because that's how they met me. So I don't have to pretend that I was ever a person with a good personality.
Yeah, I got the beautiful opportunity. My best friend in high school went to UCSB, UC Santa Barbara.
Go Slugs.
Yeah, go. Wait, what?
Isn't Santa Barbara the slug, the banana slug?
Santa Cruz is.
Oh, Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz is banana slugs. Yep. But I don't know what Santa Barbara's mascot is.
No, you're right. I'm conflating it for the two things my dad likes, which is living in Santa Barbara and Pulp Fiction.
I mean, that would be a very interesting resetting of Pulp Fiction in Santa Barbara. But I used to I basically hijacked her college years and would come down and just be a ghost and would just show up magically for celebrations and help people celebrate things, and then I would just disappear into the night.
I remember this one time I went to Oberlin College, no big deal. Lena Dunham went there.
It's cool.
It's cool. Actually, a bunch of people I went to college with ended up having TV shows, which is weird because we didn't have a film program that involved any practical checking out of cameras. We didn't have any program where you could learn how to film stuff. But my graduating year, we had Sarah Violet Bliss, who created that show Search Party, Ben Sinclair, who created that show, what's it called? High Maintenance on HBO. And then
so good.
Yeah, so good. And he was the first person I ever met in college was Ben Sinclair. And then Lena was 2 years below me, and she created a show. And I'm just how'd you guys do that? We didn't have a class to teach you. I remember though, in college, I had this one version of myself that was pretty cool, or at least I thought I was, and had all these hipster friends and stuff. And my high school friends just showed up one weekend, having driven from Maryland, which is where I went to high school, like to Ohio. And they showed up and were like, "Oh, Drew, like, you know, she's so dorky. She does this. She loves like going to raves and wearing like Army of Darkness bracelets that she made herself." And I was like, "Guys, chill. I'm cool now. Like I'm cool, Drew."
How awful of them.
I know. How dare they go out of their way to come visit me? Those leeches.
There's a difference between visiting and bringing up who you used to be as you are growing into who you should be. Like, there's a big difference.
I mean, to be clear, again, I was the worst version of myself when I was like the thin, pretty, like reinventing herself Drew, and probably the best version of myself when I was the drug-addled raver, like back Drew, who like loved like doing dumb stuff and like running around in the woods and being on LSD. That was probably the best version of me that there is. And probably how like VIDEODREW got formed was the high school version of me, way more than the college one.
I feel like post high school is the worst version of all of us.
Yeah,
like, I don't think anybody goes into freshman year of college age, like around 18, 19, 20. I think that's just like your dumpster fire years.
Yeah. It's like high school, you still have, like, you might have those years where you're still friends with all like your innocent friend, you know, like you have that innocence to you. And by college, you're just like, no, I have to be hard. I remember like finding my Friendster account. Remember Friendster? I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm going to gauge your age based on whether you remember Friendster or not.
I am 37. It's fine.
Oh, me too. Okay, so same age. Yeah. Somebody went in like 2010. Someone went back and found my Friendster account, and like under interests, it just said mind games. And I remember like the guy I was dating at the time. He's like, "So what? Like he was like, what's a mind game? Like Scrabble?" And I was like, "Oh no, sure. Scrabble is a mind game. That's what I'm referring to, and not a self-identifying asshole."
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if a guy said that to me, I would just pat him on the head and be like, "You are too pure for me. Yeah. I do not want to be the one that taints your soul, because I 100% will."
It reminds me of that BoJack quote where it's like, "Well, when you're wearing rose-tinted glasses, all the red flags just look like flags."
Yeah. Oh God. But okay, we can go into like a 3-hour soliloquy of BoJack Horseman. I remember being on tour when that came out, and I was missing LA, and I was missing, like, there's just something about LA that it's kind of like New York. There's just this feeling inside of you when you go to a place and you just know that you belong there. It just kind of clicks in, and it brings out a part of your personality or part of your wishes and dreams and stuff. And I feel like LA has that for me. I'm all like, I feel like my soul is bi-coastal. So I feel like I belong in LA and New York. I'm also bipolar, but that's cool. It goes, the drugs match. But I feel like BoJack Horseman, like, really, it just, I watched it and just like could not stop sobbing. Yeah. Because I was just grieving for like not being there anymore.
Oh, it doesn't make it look particularly glamorous, but I've had the same reaction where I remember watching the first season. Like, you know, it's one of those shows where I was a TV critic for many years. If people don't know that about me, it's why I'm bad at movie trivia. I was like a TV person. Me and Vinny Mancuso actually were the TV people. I hired him when he was like an intern at the Observer, New York Observer, which is where I worked. And so I remember being one of those people who was like really a hard proponent of BoJack, but was like, you got to get past like the first couple episodes, which maybe seem like a little clunky and like the jokes aren't all there, because it's a show that kind of builds on the jokes and becomes like it's all referential. So like you need those first couple episodes to establish the world, so then the callbacks are like funnier each subsequent time. So I was like one of those people who was like, just get past like the first 3 episodes of BoJack, and I promise you're gonna love this show about a talking horse. Like, you're gonna love it. And I was married at the time, and I remember we really identified my ex-husband as a Mr. Peanut Butter. Because he was like my favorite joke of season 1, and that's not an insult. That's like the best, most highest compliment I can give somebody about their innocence. And I say that because it's the same guy who said the mind games thing and asked me about Scrabble, because like the innocence of that person, like a certain kind of worldview that, like, you know, sees a trunk and opens it up and it's full of tennis balls and goes wee, like that's who that was. The BoJack finale was great, Chris Taylor. It was so brutal. Yeah, that penultimate episode was just riggedy wrecked me.
The one that really destroyed me was oh shit. It was the one where he had to give the eulogy for his mom. Because right around that time, I think it was like the 5-year anniversary of my dad passing, and it just like let's talk about a brick house hitting on my soul and just crumpling me and destroying me. Like that was what that was. And then at the very end, I'm sorry, guys, the show's been on forever. I'm just gonna say it. The very end, you find out that he's in the wrong funeral.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah,
you can't help but laugh. It's just hilarious, and it's like all of their jokes I feel are just like honey drenched razor blades.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I was a huge fan of I can't even pronounce his last name, so I'm not gonna try to. Raphael Bob W. Because he did this sketch show back at when he was in Bard College. He was like part of this sketch group called Old English. That was like it was him, Jesse Novak, and like Adam Conover from Adam Ruins Everything, and like a bunch of them. And they did like really viral, very funny like sketches. And I remember being a big fan of them early on. I think they were like did a couple things with College Humor, which was like a group I was really tight with back like in the early aughts, like mid aughts, I guess mid before the 2010s hit. That was like a group that I ran with. And I remember just being a huge fan. So when BoJack came out, I was like, oh, good for them. Like, good for Raphael. Good for, like, Jesse, who did the music for it. And then when it got really good, I had that moment of being like, and I've had this moment a lot of being like, oh, somebody I know did something like, that's like a miracle of like a miracle of art. I'm so happy for them and not at all feeling like I've been left behind. It's great. I know them, like, and secretly seething. But also so happy for them, but also secretly seething.
I mean, it's such a weird and disjointed feeling to literally have that, like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. And also, I'm curled up in a corner crying and being snuggled by my depression kitty from Big Mouth. Like,
oh my God. Yeah, I know. I'm like, my sister has 25K Instagram followers. That's so good for her.
I'm so happy.
I love that for her so much. She's the younger one. That's fine. That's fine. Everyone go follow Hannah.Claire.Grant. She's a great tattoo artist who lives in New York. It's because she's a tattoo artist is what I tell myself. If you make good tattoo art, of course Instagram's going to love you. That's what it's there for.
Which, speaking of your sister and tattoos in New York, let me know whenever I need to get in contact with her, because while I'm there in New York, like I know you're going to be for the live event, which is 100%. Sorry, I should have been more prepared. Which 100% is selling out right now, guys. Get your fucking tickets because I don't know how much longer they're going to be available. But I will be in New York.
You can get a tattoo. You can, because Movie Finobi, who I thought I saw in the comments for a second, came to the last live show and got a tattoo from my sister. These are all her tattoos, by the way. So this is like a good representation of like the kind of work she does. She does like only stick and poke now, but she's really good. She also tours a lot. So if you can't get in New York, you can just find her, just follow her Instagram and it says where she's touring. But Movie Finobi, I think originally wanted to get a VIDEODREW tattoo, and my sister was straight up like, no, that's weird. And I was like, Hannah, if you say that, then I'm just going to go out and find another person who will give a VIDEODREW tattoo, and I'm going to get it myself. And I'm going to tell everyone that my sister wouldn't give me the tattoo of myself. Like, so everyone go and get a VIDEODREW tattoo. Ask for it specifically so she can be like, that's fine. Everyone loves my sister. That's fine.
I mean, but yeah, I need to get it. It's been ages since I've had a tattoo, and I need to get one.
What would it be?
Say what?
What do you know what it's going to be?
No, I mean, I have enough skin to tattoo, and I'm down if she wants to do an original or whatever she wants to do.
She does very weird. I will say she does like her artwork is very much in the style of like scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yeah.
Like if you get a tattoo by her, it probably will look pretty creepy. But that's awesome. I love that about her.
I mean, I remember you telling me about her, and then you just like basically stripping in the middle of a restaurant and being like, look at her work. And I'm like, yes. Yep. And that's one of the reasons I think we became friends.
Human Tooth. Let's see. These are the Laura Palmer hands from Twin Peaks. I think she did. Yeah, she did this little creepy clown over here. I had an idea for a tattoo. I had several ideas. I do want to get like a whole thing done, but I'm not sure where the space is of like the Midsummer like look of like Danny wearing the flower crown, but also being made out of like that flower thing she's wearing at the end of Midsummer, and like I like want that Florence Pugh tattoo. But I also want a tattoo, and I can't remember exactly what it said. I had to tweet about it, but it was basically a version of it says I am my own best variant, and it's a picture of Loki Gator.
Yes.
Or no, it was the Loki. I can not now. It was the Loki Gator with the Pokemon symbol for first edition next to it. So it's like I'm my own first variant. So I've gotten really into Pokemon, and that should be something on my body forever.
I feel like that 100% needs to be on your body.
Mm-hmm. It does right now, right? The Loki Gator with a first edition symbol next to it, and you'll get it if you get it.
Yeah, like it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those. Like if you know, you know, and like it's like as movie fans, like if we go out and if we quote a movie and a stranger's like, "Wait, was that from?" and you're like, "Yeah," we're instantly friends. Like, come have a drink with us.
I basically use my tattoos as like a red rope around my friendship, like of me. So like if somebody like I remember only once, like I have a tattoo, my second or third tattoo was like a friend's brother tattooed on my back, "In heaven everything is fine," which you might know as like a song from the Pixies.
God, yeah.
You know, in heaven. Okay, so a lot of people do, and a lot of people would approach me and be like, "Oh, you really like the Pixies?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, they're great." But only one person ever was like, "Oh my God, you have an Eraserhead tattoo?" Because that's the song the Pixies are covering is from Eraserhead. And that person was Matthew Lillard. And I've never been more proud to be like, correct. You are correct by that. And like, way to know the one specific reference I'm making with that.
Also, just open mouth kiss me because you're Matthew Lillard.
Then he took me to do shots with him and Patrick Stewart. And it was a dope night.
Whoa.
Yeah. This whole story is bananas.
So Stu from Scream and Captain, my Captain. Okay, yeah. See, this is why I bring you on, because it's very humbling. Because usually I'm like, oh yeah, this shit happened in my life, and I'm like, yeah, it's weird, and people think it's crazy, and I'm like, it's just my life, and then you tell stories, and I'm like, okay, I have done nothing, and I feel so great about that.
I feel less bad about name drop. I used to feel like people used to give me a lot of shit for name dropping, but that's because I was currently doing it and always going out and meeting people. Now I feel less bad because I'm like, oh, those days are far behind me. Like, yes, I met Obama twice, and I would have met him a third time, but I didn't. Like, and I probably will never do that again, but I did it. So I get that story, and that like counts as like another one of my Poke Index, but it's not, comparing former presidents to Pokemon is tight, but... Yeah, someone said Thrawn's saying it's rock and roll versus Hollywood. I mean, that's absolutely true. I have not met like that many musicians in my life. If you're like from a musical, I'd probably recognize you, but probably I would not recognize. There is a funny story about the time I met Jay-Z and did not know who he was and accused him of having supersonic dog hearing, which is a thing I did. I think that story ended up in the Village Voice. Yeah, they ended up writing a Village Voice article about the time I thought Jay-Z was just the guy getting me champagne at a Rockaware party. And he's like, don't worry, I hear the champagne coming. And I was like, you can't hear champagne. And he's like, no, I hear like the tinkling of the glass, blah, blah. And he goes, I go, what do you got? Like supersonic dog hearing, man? Like you can't hear champagne coming. And he goes, well, I'm a musician. And I go, well, look around you. We're at a like Rockaware party. Everybody hears a musician. And then the champagne comes over and I'm like, anyway, thanks, man. Cheers. And yeah.
That's so great.
The image in the Village Voice is a picture of me and drinking something. And goes reporter, arrow, party, arrow, story. And it was like in the opposite direction. Very funny.
Wah, wah, wah.
So I might have met a bunch of musicians in my life. I just don't know.
Yeah, it 100% happens. Mm-hmm. I was, it's so funny because like I get the whole like it's weird to meet people that are outside of the lives that we live and like describe what we do and people that we know and have them be like, oh, you're just like name dropping, like, oh, you're kind of an asshole. You do this because you need to feel important. It's like, no, like these are the people in my world. These are the people in my Snuggle Pear.
Oh my God, this is Sammy. Hello, Sammy.
Oh,
hello, Sammy.
Sammy, I'm gonna snuggle you when I come back to LA.
No, I think exactly that's it. I've gotten really good at that radar of being like, not just like this person's acting important, because I used to be a party reporter. There's tons of ways that you can like act like you're somebody and like try to get in the door that way. I know like what the vibes those people who actually are important give off. So even if I don't know why you're famous, if you do something, like if you make a couple motions or like I can see you acting in a large group, I can usually read whether or not you're an important person, whether or not or famous person, based on like your body language, how you're responding to things, how people are responding to you without knowing like why you're famous. Alternatively, I'm very good at TV people. Like one time I recognized my Uber driver having been in the second episode of Westworld with 2 lines. And I was like, were you the guy that was with the bunch of hosts that were trying to rape Dolores, but you were like the human guy who was like kind of on the fence about it? And I was like, I think your character's name was Rusty. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's so cool. That's so cool, man.
Good job, guys.
I think he's really embarrassed because he's like driving an Uber around. And I was like, you're 2 minutes of fame on Westworld. Turns out he was Vincent Kartheiser's roommate, which is cool.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, was that in LA?
Yeah, but I was kind of dubious because I was like, the story about Vincent Kartheiser, who's Pete on Mad Men, was that he was like living in a house without a toilet for a really long time. Like that was like the big story when he was on Mad Men, was it somehow got leaked that his house didn't have a toilet in it and he had to go use his neighbor's toilet all the time. So I asked this guy, Rusty, I was like, oh yeah, what was your bathroom situation like with Vincent? He goes, okay, well, we were remodeling the house a bunch. And I was like, okay, so maybe he's on the level. So I Googled it. Couldn't find anything about a roommate, but the story checks out. Hey, come on, girlies. Come on.
Story checks out. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Because he had that vibe.
So so you're way more into TV than you are into movies, which completely understandable. Story moves along at a rapid pace and it lasts way longer than the 2-hour average that movies do. What was I mean, obviously you're a massive Twin Peaks fan, which
yes,
I have not watched yet because
okay.
I feel like I need to be in a very specific cocoon of feelings in order to sit down and like marathon it and then do the movies.
Yeah, I mean, like David Lynch is not one of I love David Lynch, obviously, but it is like one of those things that I'm like, my tastes are not everyone's taste. I don't think anyone's ever going to be confused that I'm like a populist sort of personality or that like my tastes run the same as everyone else. David Lynch especially, you kind of just have to be in a very meditative, very open-minded, it's meditative. Like his movies are like transcendental meditation. Like you just kind of got to be in a vibe for them. Or like it's not for you, in which case like no hard feelings. Like I totally get Twin Peaks. Like there are large swatches of season 2 that are just like actual trash because he left the show. So like you're gonna have to like know going into it that like you're gonna have to commit to a show that had a lot of episodes in its second season, most of which were trash. But you have to watch them in order to get to the next area. It's kind of like I'm not even sure if I would like try to sell you on it if it wasn't already your bag.
I mean, you're talking to a Supernatural fan who has had not just episodes, but seasons to sludge through in order to get to the continuation of the storylines.
It's really hard. I mean, TV, I always love the British TV model. Like Eric was saying that like the Community joke of like, this show was so great. It was on for 60 years and had 30 episodes. Like that's the British model of television. Perfect. You try to get someone into Fleabag, you're just telling them to commit to like 4 hours of their lives to watching something. That's such an easy sell. You try to tell someone like, get into Twin Peaks. You're saying like that's a network TV show that was on in the 90s. So like, let's just say there's 25 to 30 episodes of that second season. Like that's a big commitment to then say, okay, and then after that, you got to watch the prequel movie that came out like right after. And then you've got to come back for the return, which are hour-long episodes that he didn't have any editor for in like on Showtime. So like, and then you might discover whether or not you like Twin Peaks. That's a really hard sell.
Yeah. But I feel like it's also like because I'm of the mind of like, I just love good stories.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's a good story at the beginning. I don't care if it's a good story in the middle. I want the entire, as long as the whole story is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you slug through like 20 seasons and you get to the end and you're like, oh my God, everything was shit. And then it ended and it all made sense. And I love it now. I'm totally fine with that.
See, I don't think I mind if stories don't make sense or aren't good. I mind it in movies. I'm the worst person to watch movies with because I like every second of every movie, I'm like questioning everything about it. I'm like, why is this like that? Why is it like that? Like every frame of any movie, I'm like, why are they doing this? How would this work? Like, it's so annoying to watch films with me. I think only Nerd Chronic can tolerate it, really. So like with TV, though, I used to be the TV editor, so I'd get screeners. I'd be able to watch it, but I never have those questions in TV. Like TV, I assume because the timeline is long enough, that things will be explained to me. Like I don't have this fear that like they're not gonna be able to explain in 2 hours why like Jigsaw was lying on the floor the whole time of the movie and didn't cough once. Like I won't have this sort of issue with the world that's being created because I will assume that the writers, given a long enough timeline, can like deal with whatever specific thing it is, or B, listen to the audience, which is something movies can't do. Like TV shows can adapt based on how people feel about them, and they can listen to critiques and they can like adjust accordingly. And I feel like that's a really beautiful part of television. They also switch out writers. Like it's never the same. It's like a river. It's never the same thing twice. So I've also just love how TV gets into characters. Like Twin Peaks isn't even necessarily about who killed Laura Palmer, although that's the ostensible like tagline of the show. It's really just about like the weird, quirky people in the town and Agent Cooper, and like the dialogue being this sort of like weird, stilted dream dialogue. Like to me, it's the characters and the dialogue that always take paramount over what the show is ostensibly about. Like Loki, it's a good show about talking.
Yeah, I do love the fact that like you hear it all the time with TV shows that have gone on for seasons and seasons. That like a character that is a fan favorite was only supposed to be in there for like 3 or 4 episodes, but because it's so beloved, they took it and ran with it, and now 17 seasons later, they're still in the show, and they're you know, like
Jesse wasn't supposed to live past the pilot of Breaking Bad. Like Jesse was supposed to die off in the pilot of Breaking Bad, but they rewrote that entire show to have co-star Jesse because people just really responded to it, and I think that's such a beautiful thing. Like I love movies for what they are, but they are static images like stuck in time. Like they are products of what they are, and they're static. Whereas like TV is like flowing and moving and like adapting.
Yeah, I do love kind of like the inverse of that with Firefly.
Oh yeah.
Firefly only had 1 season, sadly, and then came out with a movie, and it was literally like everybody was clamoring for another season. Fox said no. And so Joss Whedon was like, look, I'm going to answer all of your questions. Just give me like 5 years. And came out with a movie that like answered everybody's questions. And it was basically like, this is what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, this is what season 2 Crunch Down was supposed to be. And
the
like,
problem is people don't actually want the answers. Like shows that like are mystery based, like Lost or Twin Peaks or, you know, Firefly, that have these essential inherent mysteries to them. What you find out with the movies or with like the networks forcing a resolution to happen is like, that's not really what the story was ever about. Like it was just about like the concept of the mystery and being along the journey. Like having those like things resolved is never going to make you happy, because having the questions answered, like finales saying goodbye, parting, death is like never satisfying. Just because just because it's the end doesn't mean you have to like it. In fact, because it's the end, you specifically won't like it. So whenever people like hate the ending of a show, oh, like Game of Thrones sucked, like the whole thing sucked because the last half of the 2nd season sucked. Like no, and it sucks that we're gonna all have to remember it that way. But like it was just the end, and it was kind of abrupt, and they made some mistakes. But like that doesn't mean the journey sucked or the show sucked. The same with Lost. The same with like Twin Peaks' 2nd season. Like the ending and the resolution and the here's what actually happened, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because like were you feeling something while watching it? Did the journey like move you? Did it like change your life? Like that's really what it's about.
Yeah, it really is all about the journey and not the destination, folks. You heard it here first.
I think Thrawn's saying the movie we watched on Twitch together, I believe that was Bumblebee, and I had never seen a Transformers movie before.
Wait, which one?
Bumblebee. Thrawn saying, I can't remember what movie he watched with me on Twitch, but it might as well be called SAT the movie after all the questions. Yeah. Well, I'd never seen a Transformer movie, so I had a bunch of questions about how that world operated, and I didn't have any of them answered for me. Now, how do you feel about like soundtracks in movies and in TV? Does that like really inform? I know this is like a music show, so I do want to talk about it. Like I was asked to helm the Music Supervisor Guild's conference a couple years back, because I was always pointing out in reviews that like, oh, this is so great. Better Call Saul used this song and the way they used the music to interweave it, and it turned out that guy was the head of the guild. So even though I don't know that much about music, I do love soundtracks and how they're used in like movies and television. So.
I think the music is, if it's utilized properly, can be a character of its own, can be a storytelling element that is just as important as your lead actor.
Like needle tops.
Like, I mean, obviously Tarantino's like such an amazing example of that. Like it's one of those, like when you hear the song, you instantly think of this. And I feel like it's like with Us by Jordan Peele, like when they used Gangster's Paradise at the beginning. Was that Gangster's Paradise? I've had a little to drink today. But at the very beginning, like they use that, they use that song and they put it in a different key and they slowed it down. And like, yeah, they've been doing that with pop songs for a while, but like it just gives a different feel. It sets the tone for the storytelling. And like, I feel like ambiance is such an important part of a movie. Like, have you ever seen the Scary Mary trailer cut for Mary Poppins?
I've not seen that one, but I know what you're talking about. Those recut trailers. I almost wanted to get into trailer editing because of that one that came out for The Shining, where they put Peter Gabriel's dun dun running up on everything. Running up, I'm coming to take you home. And I was like, that's brilliant. Changes the kind of context of the movie.
Somebody took footage from Mary Poppins, recut it, and put it with like very severe string music.
Oh yeah,
and made it into a horror movie trailer, which is fucking hilarious.
I mean, it's all about editing. Yeah, I'm really impressed by that kind of stuff.
It just goes to show you like how important music, not just like song use, but like actual like score is to film and to set a tone.
How are you about mic drops, like in movies? Like when you see movie, like needle drops. Sorry, not mic drops. Needle drops. Like people are always like, "Oh, Captain Marvel had too many needle drops," or this movie or show had too many needle drops, like too many songs in it. And I was like, I'm always like, do you hate songs now?
Yeah. Do you hate music? Like I get it if like
90s songs.
I get it if the 90s was a terrible decade for you, and like the sound of garbage, like. If you hear dun-dun, it'll bring me over. Like, I understand that if you hear that and it like takes you back to a bad place in your junior high years, I get it. But like overall, I love the use of music. Like some of my favorite soundtracks are Empire Records and
oh my god, yes, that Gwar scene in Empire Records was my everything.
But now you must die.
Yeah, he's like,
oh my god,
great job. Now you must die. Yeah, Empire Records actually has a bomb soundtrack though.
Like I feel like every movie in the 90s nailed the soundtrack.
I remember being in France. I was a foreign exchange student. Like, no big deal. I was a foreign exchange student for like a couple months in the summer, right before I think middle school started. And for some reason, my French like exchange parents only had in their car the only thing they had that was like American, or I guess was supposed to make me feel at home, was they had the soundtrack to Clueless. But I don't think I'd seen Clueless yet. So just for summer, I was like, I don't care what my teachers say. I want to be. Or like the kids are all like, we're the kids in America. Whoa.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah, so that's like very reminiscent of a time and place. I mean, I say this, but then again, like I saw Fear Street, which I know a lot of people love, the Fear Street movies. I just saw that first one and it was so egregiously, like every song just led to another, like every mic. I think at one point there's a mic drop and somebody takes off their headphones and another song is already playing.
Yeah.
Like, diegetically, and like it's weird.
So there's proper uses of needle drops. I agree with you. I feel that I love the Fear Street Saga. It was so much fun. I felt like I was reading the books again, and I was like 7, like hiding under my covers because I was a very advanced reader.
Me too.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I got to like Christopher Pike when I was like 10. Like Christopher Pike and R.L. Stine, like adult books. I was like, I'm not even in middle school yet, but give me all those books.
I like how we're both unapologetic, like braggers in a certain way. And I mean, this is no just like I literally do like this about myself, that as a woman, like I am unapologetic about like how smart I was as a kid. Like I got perfect English on my SATs, and I was on LSD when I took them. So like that's how smart I am, that I can take drugs and end up with a perfect English score. Math, not so much.
When I was 17, my sister was pregnant, and I thought that the military was the only way to go for me to get a college education because I really wanted to go to college. And this was literally like, guys, you got to remember, this was 2000. This was 2001. 2001. It was a very dangerous time to be going into the military. And I took my ASVABs, and it's literally like, they're like the SATs for the military, for those who don't know. And it's supposed to take you like an hour and a half to finish these. They have a practical, and like they've got it's literally the SATs. Like it's so long, it's so thorough. I finished in 45 minutes. Went up to the desk to get my score. She thought my computer was broken. Came back and checked it. Came back, checked my score, wrote a number on like a sticky pad, and was like, go show this to your recruiter. And I walked to my recruiter who was in the Navy, talking with like the recruiter from like the Army and the Marines and the Coast Guard. And like, they're all just like standing there bullshitting, talking, drinking coffee. And I walk up and they're like, what, is something wrong? Like, what happened? I was like, no, I'm done. They're like, you're not done. I'm like, I don't know. She checked the computer and I gave her this. She said to give you this. And it said a 94 and it was a 94 out of 99. And
Jeez Louise, you think they give you the extra point just to exist, you know?
Yeah. Just for context, females don't tend to score on those on the ASVAB like an average higher than like 80. I think at the time it was 75.
Female. Wait, what did males score?
Average score I think for males was like 85 because it was more like mechanically based than like logic based and like the way that women's and men's brains worked. I don't know. It was the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. They were very judgy. And so I gave him that and he was like, yeah, we're going to put you in the nuke field. I'm like, fuck you. I don't want to glow by the time I'm 30. But basically like they wanted to put me in the first co-ed nuke submarine.
Whoa.
And like have me be like the poster child of females in the Navy for the nuke program. And I'm like, fuck you. I know what happens in those subs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, as long as I have a pardon for any crimes I commit, any dicks I cut off, or anybody's throat that I slice in the middle of the night for raping me, fuck you.
Oh my God. It would have been like you and Mara though, like in the Navy, like,
yeah.
And doing on submarines. That's hilarious. Mm-hmm. I feel like because I talk so much, honestly, that people think that I'm not clever, and I can see why. Like if you talk a lot, people think you don't like observe.
Like you're compensating for something.
Yeah, or you're compensating, or you're just like daft. Like I always think of if you read the script for Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, like the one that was like on Broadway, like the liner notes, and they introduced Mrs. Lovett. They're like a woman who talks so much and may seem daft or something. I was trying to find the exact quote where it's like she might seem daft, but she's like more cunning than you realize, or she's like more dangerous because of like her cunning. And it's like, yeah. She talks. I mean, the whole thing about Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney Todd is she's constantly talking and interrupting and saying 100 things at once. But like she's very shrewd, and like you could argue the actual instigator of like she more than Sweeney is like the real instigator of all the events of the story. Like it's her idea. She makes it seem like it's his idea. She's the one that's like pulling all the Machiavellian strings here. And like
she is the puppet master.
Yeah, she acts on many different impulses, but she's like a businesswoman and she's like in love with him and she's got like 3 fucking side hustles going on. Yeah. And I really think that Sweeney Todd is about Mrs. Lovett, like the woman who just seems like she's like the extemporary sort of secondhand or like Gal Friday to the main character. Yeah. But like no, she's the one that's actually the story's about.
Yeah, they try and make her like Sally from Peanuts.
Yes.
You know? Yes. She's constantly just in love with Linus, and she serves no purpose other than to talk constantly about love. But like you really dig down and like Mrs. Lovett is Machiavelli. Like she is so shrewd and just she knows exactly what is going on because she's the one who's setting everything up.
Right. If you listen to if you listen to the beginning of Little Priest, it's all her idea. She's like she has to talk him. She has to like tell him. She has to lay it out. She's like it would just be such a shame. Seems a downright waste to like waste this guy. If you guys don't know what Sweeney Todd about, it's about cutting people up and making them into meat pies and ostensibly revenge. But really it's about cutting people up and making them into meat pies. And this woman just basically convinces this guy that that's his idea. He wants to do it. She's just like, oh, she's like, it would be such a waste to, use this meat and just bury the body.
It's cannibalism for profit. Meat was really expensive and hard to come by. And she ran a pie shop that needed meat. And then these guys kept dying because Sweeney was convinced to kill them. She's amazing.
She maybe my favorite lyric in all of Broadway history is what she says at the end, where she's it turns out that his wife was alive this whole time. Like he was doing all this stuff out of revenge. And he's like, you lied to me. You told me my wife was dead. She was poisoned. She was just this crazy woman on the street. And she goes, no, not lied at all. No, I never lied. I said she drank the poison. She did. I never said that she died. And like, it's just such a good, like little, and she like says it so like hurriedly. Like she's like, no. I didn't lie. I just implied that she drank poison and that probably led to death. I didn't say that she died. Yeah. You picked up that she died. I didn't say that.
You inferred that totally. That's all on you, buddy. I never said that there was a gravestone with a body underneath it.
Yeah, I mean it's so clever, and she's such a cleverly written character. I mean, I don't think it's confusing to anyone that I'm like a musical theater nerd at heart, but only certain musical theaters. Like I've been watching Schmoedown, which I like a lot. I think it's a really good show
because it's so much fun.
But it's not my Broadway. Like the big Oklahoma, that kind of stuff, the big tent, like Oklahoma carousel, anything that takes place in the Midwest is like not really for me. Like all the ones that take place in the Midwest are like not Drew musicals, but the ones that take place elsewhere usually are my type of musicals. Like so the big like the carousel, Oklahoma.
Well, to be honest, Carousel is just a dumpster fire of a show anyway. It's about a soul trying to redeem himself because he was a fucking abuser and no, fuck that. I cannot stand that movie.
I don't even know what that's interesting to me. I don't even know what Carousel is about ostensibly.
It's
I
awful.
Don't know.
It's terrible.
I don't know what Brigadoon. I know what Brigadoon's about. I've never seen it. I've never seen all of Oklahoma, although I can appreciate the songs from Oklahoma being what they were at the time because like Oh What a Beautiful Morning was at the time like really avant-garde to start a Broadway show out with because it's just one person singing alone on stage. And usually you opened up with a big crowd pleasing number with everybody in the cast. You'd open up and it would just be, here's the introduction to the characters, blah, blah, blah. So to have the show open up with just one ranch hand on stage lone singing Oh What a Beautiful Morning as a solo was like a pretty, like that was a pretty ballsy move that Roger and Hammerstein did. I don't know. Oscar? No, Roger and Hammerstein.
It was Roger and Hammerstein, yeah. Oh my God. I just got a Streamlab from Patrick Harden. Just saying hello, ladies. I hope you have a good evening. Well, Patrick,
thank you. Wait, Patrick likes Pokemon, right? I think Patrick's one of my Pokemon people.
I hope so. Patrick, if you're going to be in New York, just come say hi when we're there, and we will give you hugs if you want them.
Yeah, well, I'm bad with hugs, but I've started hugging people more. Post-pandemic, it turns out I do love hugs.
I want to say that I was crucial in breaking that into you, into your world.
Yeah.
Because I
used to really not like them. It was the thing that people knew about me that like from childhood up to like my own wedding, people knew, if you're gonna, come up to Drew, like don't surprise hug her because she's gonna like stiffen up and get like really unhappy. So like I would have to hug you. It was like an animal, like a skittish animal. Like I have to come to you and I would hug you from the side because I wanted to clamp your arms down so you wouldn't be able to like grab me. I just had a lot of weird stuff about it. But after quarantine, when I showed up for the very first event, or not event, but like it was like a drinks thing that was happening with like because Mara and Dan were in town and like it was in Venice or something. We showed up kind of late and everyone was pretty sloused. And we come in and there's like all these Schmoedown people. And everyone's like comes up and just gives me the most big hug. And Smets came up and was there, gave me a big hug. And I just like started weeping. Like I just lost it because I didn't think I'd like ever get to hug him again. And I didn't know that was something my life needed was to hug a friend again. But it did. And it felt really good.
Yeah, hugs are the best. It is one of my love languages. And I never hug attack somebody who I haven't gotten approval to hug in the past. I will say that unless you have told me specifically that it is okay for me to hug you, I will never run up and like just kind of blindside you with a hug.
I would do that to other people. I always have this thing where I'm very hypocritical, where I would like be like, it's okay for me to touch other people, but like they should be aware of my boundaries. It's like the story of my life.
Yes.
I'm like, be aware of my boundaries as I cross yours always.
I have no boundaries when it comes to hugs. Just don't palm anything unless we've already discussed this. But no, I think I forced you to hug me the first time we met. And I was like, I'm going to hug you just so you know. And you're like, I don't like hugs. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to hug you. It won't be very long, but I'm going to hug you. And you're like, fine. And I hugged you and you're like, okay, that was nice. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah, I think I need to know ahead of time. It all comes from this place of like, I had these friends' parents growing up that were like kind of sadistic people, but like in a very passive aggressive way. Like they would always run late, like hours late picking us up from school. And like I got very anxious. I had a lot of anxiety growing up. And like a lot of times I had to go straight from school to temple, like Hebrew school, because I went a lot as a kid. And they'd be like an hour late picking us up. And then we'd be in the car and they'd be like, okay, do you guys want to stop for food on the way? And I'd be like almost pissing my pants from like anxiety. But they were one of these people that like would do hugs, like they would hug me specifically because they knew that I didn't like to be touched.
Oh no!
And would just hold me in these like very like claustrophobic embraces for a while, which I now realize is like a pretty messed up thing to do to a child who's giving off like, please don't interact with me vibes, but they were like mean people. So like, I think that like created a fear in me that like people can just like touch you for as long as they want. And like, you have no say in it. And it really made me like a very like touchy person, for lack of a better word.
One of the things that I clash with my mother most of all about most is the fact that children need to have body autonomy.
Yeah.
Like when kids don't want to touch people or hug people or kiss them, I don't care if they're friends, family members, or best friends. I do not care who they are. If your child is backing away from somebody and not wanting to be held or like sat on their lap or like kiss somebody, like do not make them, please, dear God. Like it will literally create issues. It is not your case to say that your child has to submit their body to someone else. That raises
it's such a bad precedent.
Child. Yeah,
it's far be for me to tell other people how to raise their children because I don't have any.
No,
but that being said, here, let me do it. Let me do it real quick. For anybody who has a kid out there, like, don't subject your kid to any sort of physical contact that you wouldn't subject a dog to because you'd be afraid of how that dog would turn out. Yeah. Like if your dog is giving off signs that it doesn't want to be held, you wouldn't like force it to be held by a stranger. You'd be like, oh no, that's probably not a good idea. Like don't subject a sentient person to the same thing.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. No, it's 100%. It just bristles me so much because I was raised that way. It was like, you have to go greet your family members with hugs and kisses no matter what. And I'm like, I don't like this uncle. Like, we don't get along. Why do I need to talk to them? Like, I don't care.
Yeah. Also, if it's an uncle, you think like parents should be like, my parents were very good about it. It wasn't because I was raised in a house that didn't respect my body autonomy. I was a very scary child with a lot of anger issues. So my parents were actually like, let's leave her alone and let her do her thing. But it was like my parents or my friends' parents that would like, you know, kind of the duty would fall on them whenever they had a babysit or something that would take up the idea like, oh, I was being raised feral. So like my parents like weren't doing a good enough job. So they had to like raise me or they had to instill values in me. And I always really resented that and like would be like, you're not my parents. Fuck you guys. I'm weird. I'm going to have issues. Goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, kind of on the flip side of that, it's one thing to like force your kid to like physically be in contact with other people. But like, I have a friend who lives in LA. She and I have been friends for almost 20 years. I went to her, like I flew to her wedding in the middle of tour from across the country.
Yeah,
I love her and her husband, and her kids are like my babies as well. But like she and I are very similar in our feelings about children and like child rearing, even though I do not have any, but I'm like the third oldest of 15 grandchildren. Like I've helped raise children before. They're not my own, but I get it. I know how to discipline a child and still have it be okay. And she and I
you'd be so scary. You and I would have clashed a lot because I thought I was like at the level of adults when I was a kid. And like, so adults who would try to discipline me, I was like, excuse me, Barb, you don't have any fucking right. How dare you?
But it's one of those things where like, I mean, it's one thing to like discipline and like not give reasons. Like I'm a very like, look, don't do that. You're hurting people. And do you like to get hurt? No, I'm not going to hit you, but don't hit other people. You wouldn't want me to hit you. Don't hit people. Like, don't do it. You're on timeout. Go sit down and think about what you're doing. Like, no iPad. Go sit down in a room by yourself. Like, we'll come back and we will talk this through once you've stopped your hissy fit. But like,
oh man,
oh yeah, she's given me carte blanche to like raise her kids if anything happens. Like, I'm like, look, your kids need to be good people. You're a good person. We understand each other completely, and it's like, I don't know.
What do you do about that though? Because like children, by definition, children are sociopaths because they have no sense of like the things outside of them being like real. Like, so they don't know that like, that's why kids are so cruel. That's why the best movies about bullying are about very young children usually, because it's like those bullies in those like very young movies where it's like Stand By Me or like It or something. Those bullies feel real because like when you're that young or like you're pretty young, you don't understand that people outside of you are like anything other than non-playable characters. Like they just are NPCs. So like, I don't know. How do you like convince a kid that like, you know, that thing you're saying where it's like, unless you pull their hair back and say, did you like that? Like, how do you tell a kid that their behavior is wrong?
Well, usually it's the crying of I hit them and then they hit me. It's like, yeah, it hurts, right? Don't hit people or they're going to hit you back. Like, stop it.
So I think like this is an issue to me to this day, and I probably should have been disciplined better. Quite honestly, like my parents could have tried a little bit harder. No, again, not to knock anything, but like I still have tantrums up until and including like today, and like I have these like these little like temper tantrums where I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to, and like it doesn't look as cute on a 37-year-old. It's like I'm running late and we're late and I don't want to be late and then being like, but you have to not take that personally because that's just me expressing my feelings like I'm a toddler having like a temper tantrum and that's appropriate behavior for someone my age. Like, no, I should have like learned more things by now.
Yes, we should have better coping mechanisms at this point. However, yeah, dude, I am 100%.
If Patrick is still here, by the way, I want to show him this. I was very excited about it. Is Patrick still here? Because I want to, if you make this screen big for a second, these are very important Pokemon to have. Let me see if I can zoom in. These are the ones that look like Munches the Scream. They put Pokemon in Munches the Scream. They cost me an arm and a leg, figuratively. But they are Psyduck, Eevee, and the owl one, looking like they're in that very famous painting of the Scream. And they're so cool. And I love them so much. I'm so glad to have them. That's it.
I'm so jealous. Yes, Patrick posted that he can't travel at the moment, but thank you because we offered hugs. Yes. Whenever you're able to travel, if ever we should meet, introduce yourself and we will snuggle vertically because I mean that's just who I am. I can't wait. I mean, Drew, you saw me at the taping a few weeks ago. Like there was not a person who came through that door that I wasn't like. Come into my bosom.
What did you guys do afterwards? Did you guys like all hang out? Because I was so jealous because I came home and the house was covered in dog shit, and I was like, our dogs had gotten so sick, so like I had to stay home. Eric had to work, so like I didn't get to come back to the taping or like go out afterwards. Did you guys all do something cool?
A bunch of us went out to dinner at the Saddle Rack.
Oh wow, really bringing it back.
Yeah, went to the Saddle Rack for dinner, and then we drank on the patio at the store because Ellis had a show, and we just hung out there until closing, and then I was exhausted. So Adam and I went home at like 12:30 because that's when my parking was paid till, and I was like, I'm not going to go walk to my car, pay for more time, and just be tired and sweaty and gross. So we went home, and I don't know what everybody else did, but I am ready to go. For the next time I see everybody, I'm hoping to drive down this weekend for the first, for the taping on the first. We've talked about this, and I think it's understood that like with any taping in LA that I'm just going to bully my way into whatever taping happens.
Yeah.
And just like literally like bull in a china shop, just like plow through whatever security they have at that door and just be like, that's cute. I'm going in. Because I have mom brownies.
Yeah, I used to be, again, like I used to be a party reporter, so I've always gotten really good at being like one of these awful people. A lot of these stories I'm telling tonight do not make me sound good, but like I don't care because I'm not good in a lot of ways. I was really obnoxious when I was like younger. Still kind of am, but like COVID has kind of mellowed me out. And I think honestly, Schmoedown has honestly like humbled me in a lot of ways about like my role in the cast system. But I used to like do that thing where it's like if there was a party and there was a line, I'd just be like, nah, I don't think so. And just go to the front and like flash my reporter ID, whether or not I was invited or I was pressed to that party. I'd just be like, I'm supposed to be here. Like, just let me in. And so many times that worked, but like probably also because I was young and a woman. But like I just had this like such entitlement about so many things when I was younger that I like, honestly today, like if I went somewhere and they were like, you can't come in, I'd probably be like, that's probably right. And I am a bad person. And like, I deserve that. And they'd be like, no, just because of COVID regulations. I'm like, no, I deserve that. I should go home.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. I still kind of have that attitude of like I remember drinking one night, some girlfriends of mine went out to the Bow on Sunset, the Rainbow Room on Sunset. And it's literally like a block and a half away from the Key Club, or what used to be the Key Club, RIP. My favorite place in the entire world. I love that place. But I used to work shows there like weekly, so I knew the entire cast or the entire crew. I knew the owner. I knew all of the security guards. I knew the bartenders.
Was it a music venue?
Where
was it a music venue? I don't know what it was. Like,
yeah, so the Key Club was that giant. So if you go east on Sunset, all the way down until right before it turns into like Beverly Hills. There's like a giant club on the right-hand side. So I think it's called the Oak Room now.
I think I've been there. I've been there.
But it used to be the Key Club, and they would have Steel Panther would play there every Monday, and like all these bands that used to play there. I used to sell merch for everybody, so I would just be there. I think I was there like 5 nights a week on average, working that venue. And so my girlfriends and I were we were out at the Key Club, or we were out at the Rainbow Room. And like there was this massive line outside the Key Club, and they're like, I wonder what's going on over there. I'm like, I don't know. And I like check their schedule. I'm like, there's no show playing like on their schedule. So I'm like, you know what? I'll be right back. I'm gonna go see and like see what's going on. So I walk over and I walk up to the literally a giant fucking line that I just walk all the way past, go straight to the front and to the guy with the guest list, whose name was Brandon, head security. And I walk up and he's like, oh, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I just want to know what the fuck is going on. And he's like, oh, Snoop Dogg's playing a private show here. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he goes, just give me your fucking wrist. And he just put a wristband on me. I walked right in, had VIP access, had a drink, hung out for a few songs, and then left and went back to the bar. And my girls were like, you were gone like half an hour. Is everything okay? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's just Snoop Dogg. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I used to be the worst about it. I'm trying to think back. Like there was times because the upfronts were like a big deal in New York. Like New York premieres for movies were like very different than they are in LA. Like if you're like a reporter or like in the press, whatever, like the premieres in New York, which aren't like the LA premieres, like we don't have like the red carpet as much. Like there is red carpet, but it's way less of a thing. And like the after parties are when you can like, if you know what you're doing, that's where you can go talk to celebrities and like kind of get them to like, because they're getting wasted. Like that's where you go and like talk to them. And there's like little tricks you develop like as a reporter or whatever, where it's like you always come over and you're always packing a thing of cigarettes. Like when you come over to approach anyone, because they are dying for a cigarette. No matter who they are dying for a cigarette, and no one's offered them to them all night because they're supposed to be on good behavior and not seen smoking. So I was at the Game of Thrones premiere. It was actually here in LA, but I just remember coming over and being like, I want to get a picture with like Kid Harington. I want to get whatever. And their publicist would be like, no, they're not doing photos, whatever. And like they would see me picking up a cigarette, and Kid Harington would be like, no, I would do that for like 2 cigarettes. I would take a photo for 2 cigarettes. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Just like end up talking to people because they're desperate for nicotine. Like I had a bunch of little tricks like that for doing stuff.
It's also not just the nicotine, it's the chance to get out of that environment that is so loud that everyone is clamoring for their attention. And so if you like find like if somebody's like, oh my God, I would kill for a cigarette right now, like celebrity wise, you're just like, oh cool, yeah, I'm going out right now. If you want to come out, I'll give you a few. Like it's fine. Yeah. And then you get to stand there and smoke a cigarette and like talk to someone. Priceless.
I remember hearing that Elizabeth Moss was a really tough interview, that she was very guarded. She didn't like because she didn't like being talked to. Yeah, that she was like very guarded in interviews. She'd be kind of salty. Everyone had told me that. And I got invited to the Handmaid's Tale set. And I was like, what do I do? Like, how am I going to approach this? Like, I know don't talk about Scientology, don't talk about Fred Armisen. I know she has a bunch of like triggers that can like shut down a conversation really early. And I was there on behalf of like Hulu had invited me. And like, I remember being like, okay, so I've got to really tread lightly here. They'd flown me up to Canada. They'd like expedite my passport. So I had to tread lightly because I didn't want to like offend anyone. And I get there and I'm like smoking in like the back, like looking at all the weird cars they have. And Elizabeth Moss comes out and it's like before our interview even. And she sees me smoking and her like eyes light up and she's like, oh my God. She's like, follow me. And we like go around behind one of the trailers and she's just like, can I have like 4 of those? And I was like, yeah. And we just sat there and I was like, by the way, I'm like the reporter here to interview you. And she's like, oh. She's like, I didn't know that we were doing one of those today. She was like, you can just start now if you want. And we just like ended up smoking half a pack. I got so sick. I couldn't even go around the set because I ended up vomiting in the bathroom because I can't smoke that many cigarettes. But she wanted to smoke that many. So that's how many was smoked. Like half a pack. That's
what you do.
Yeah. And she was like, she was so grateful. And I think it is those small human interactions. Like I've always been held the belief that we in this country and maybe in the world, we sort of de-emphasize transactional relationships as things that are bad. Oh, we don't like transactional people. We don't like people that can just do stuff for us and then we like them because they do. I feel like some of the best interactions I've had, just the easiest ones, the ones with people I feel the most comfortable in, are transactional by nature. Like it's with my Starbucks barista, or it's like, when I was a bartender, like those are the interactions that I actually look forward to because there's a set boundary of conditions. Like I know I'm not getting a hug from this person because there's no unclear boundary of what our relationship is. They're the bartender or I'm the bartender. I'm serving them for money, and in exchange getting this. And within those parameters, we can actually become friends and like drop our guards and get to know people. I once read like my barista's script and like gave notes and like got free Starbucks for a year. Like I'm tighter with some of those people that I have those transactional relationships with because like the boundaries are very, very clear. And I feel like less uneasy about like, oh, is that Sophie's friend? Or is that Sophie's new boyfriend? Did I meet him before? Are we close enough that we give each other hugs? Are we at the point where we say, oh, I'm going to text you? Like, or do we get if they get in contact with me, is that weird? Like, no, like bartender, that kind of stuff. So like as a reporter, I'd always treat things as like, I'm here to do a job and like, you're here to do your job. But here, look, within that interaction, I maybe have a pack of cigarettes. And like, therefore it seems like less like, I don't know. It seems less like I'm just pretending like I'm your best friend. I have like a service to do. And here's like something I can offer you in exchange.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like most of the people that I've connected with while I was on tour were bartenders because we were both we both had customer facing jobs and we both had to put on a face and blah, blah, blah. So like, I loved hanging out with bartenders. I mean, I love sleeping with them too.
Yeah. I was one of those people that couldn't stop sleeping with the cater waiters.
Oh yeah, no, my bread and butter was like bartenders because we're both surly, we're both jaded and bitter, and we both know exactly what this is. And I love an understanding of boundaries and expectations.
Yes, expectations are huge for me. You have to know. Now that, again, this only works one way. So when I text you with 4 paragraphs worth of like why my day was frustrating the next day, please don't take that as I'm interested in you or like you or am hyper about you. It just means that I need to talk to something and you are like the NPC right in my face.
Yeah.
Don't take that as interest. But I'm allowed to do that to you. If you do that to me, you're creepy and blocked.
That's the emotional equivalent of, oh my God, my life is so awful. And oh, she just left. Sorry.
No, I'm right here.
Right, you're good. It's like the emotional equivalent of like me being on tour and being like, people are so awful to me all the time. I hate my life. I miss my family. This is not worth it. I'm making a lot of money, but I just want to go home. Life is fucked. I just need to get fucked. And this is who you are. Done.
Yeah.
Handled.
I do love bar. And having said that, like one of my tattoos, this is a tattoo from a bar that I managed when I first got out of college, where I lived above the bar. This place, Goodbye Blue Monday. At night, it became a music venue. It was a curio shop / coffee shop / at night music venue for like anyone who was passing through. You just had to like book on MySpace. I lived with the owner, who was this surly 60-something guy named Steve Trimboli, who used to run this place called the Scrap Bar on McDougal Street in New York. That was a famous like MTV hangout. Like it was all made of scrap metal. MTV shot there constantly, like in the 80s and 90s or like early 90s. And he had this bar in Brooklyn, right on Bushwick, like where Bushwick becomes Bed-Stuy. So right where the train was like eye level with my bedroom. So we'd hear the train every 15 minutes. Bad part of the neighborhood. We were like the beginning of the gentrifiers. But it was like this really like, it was this really cool place. My job at first was just to, he was like kind of a hoarder. So he'd buy estate sale, like collections of comic books and cards and movies. And my job was to go into the basement and like put it all on eBay. That was like my first job out of college because I had majored in comic books. So like, what are we going to do with that? Yeah. So like I was sorting collections of comic books, and then I became a bartender. And I just loved it. I used to play these games of like, if I'm mean to the people, will they tip more or less because they're trying to like get my attention or win my favor? And the answer turns out it was always more. The meaner you are to the patrons, the more money they're going to give you in an effort for you to like them, which I just found like the best thing I'd ever discovered in my entire life. Like they didn't stop tipping. They started tipping a lot. Mm-hmm. Like it was awesome. So I've always like really had this thing about, even before that, like the same family friends that like would force me into the hugs were the people that were so rude to waiters. Like they got off on like yelling at young server girls, like especially the dad. And this way that I always found like it had to be like some sort of like, honestly, like I'm not trying to psychoanalyze. It had to be some sort of like psychosexual power trip for them. Because it was only to the young female waiters, and they would just, no matter what they did, like we would go to the same place or different places, no matter what they did, the female servers were going to get yelled at. Like the young female servers were going to be, I don't want this. This doesn't taste right. Bring it back. Like just dressing them down in public. And I remember being a child and being like, when I'm old enough, I'm going to do something about this. Like I'm going to make sure that no one can ever do this ever again, like in my presence. Like, and so like I would leave dates, I would leave meetings, I would leave job interviews if I saw people being rude to the wait staff as like a power move. Yep. Like I think that way about any kind of people that are in any sort of sector like that. Like, I can't be rude to people that I'm on the phone with about health insurance. Like, I can't do it. It's not their fault. It's never their fault. Like, I've been on the phone with unemployment before, like hours long, just getting so upset, and like had those people like talk me down from crises. Like, those people are there to help you. It's not their fault.
I'm not even joking. So I have had a very public back and forth with unemployment, because the last job that I had, I was on tour with John Leguizamo. So I was living in California. The company that I worked for was in New York, but the payroll was coming out of New Jersey. So I was in this like 15-month, like he said, she said, battle between unemployment states. And it got to the point where like I was like everyone was telling me that I needed to file in a different state, and it was so fucking obnoxious. And then finally, I ended up getting somebody in California who was like, no, you 100% need to be filing with us. Like, let's handle this. And she and I had the best time filing for unemployment, because
I had the best, again, transactional relationships, man.
She kept apologizing. And I was like, baby, no. I work in customer fronting. Like, you don't have to put on a face. People fucking suck donkey balls. Like, I understand. Yeah. Like, and we like laughed about like bullshit that had happened in her life and mine. And like, there were literally like 20 minutes that we just spent like laughing together. And it was the best time.
People, man. Like I literally had the last interaction I had with somebody in customer service was a person, like one of those people that you assume was a robot, like on the Walmart help site. Because I was like, I think this product that I bought on Walmart.com, but I now realize you're just acting as a third party vendor. Like, I think this was like a fake Pokemon product, blah, blah. And the person like I was talking to, I was like really pissed talking to them. I was like, so what's the refund policy? Okay, that wasn't made clear like in the thing, but I understand. So what you're saying, like, let me just get this clear, blah, blah. It was just all done over chat. And at the end, they were like, thank you for being the nicest person I've talked to since the pandemic began. And I was like, that's makes me feel so bad. A, I thought you were a robot. And B, like, you're not being sarcastic. And C, I wasn't being that nice. Like, I was just being a decent human being and being like, I get it. Like, I didn't read the fine print. I get that this is not the policy. I just wasn't clear on that, and blah, blah. And she ended up issuing me a refund anyway. So, like,
dude, it
goes places.
It breaks my heart when I call into places to address an issue or something that like may have fucked up. Like, I had Southwest had just had this massive sale on flights, and I was like, hey, everybody in California who's going down to LA for Spectacular, book your flights now. The flights are super cheap. And I booked a ton of flights because I didn't know if I would need to fly into like LAX or Burbank or whatever. So I booked like overlapping flights, and then they canceled the overlapping flights because you're not supposed to. And I didn't know that. And so I called in, and she was like explaining, she was like, she had that tone in her voice, like, as per policy, as per this, da, da, da. And I'm like, look, it's fine. I get it. Like, can you just please point me to where it says? Like, she was so relieved that like I wasn't yelling at her, which just breaks my heart, because it's like, why the fuck are people yelling at you?
Because people get frustrated. I mean, like again, because again, like, I mean, I get it, because again, being one of these people who gets frustrated and has a very short fuse, and is always like, I'm always just frustrated with the situation myself. It's never about anyone else, that I'm running late, that I'm this or that, but it can really come off that way if you're just viewing it from the outside. It really does look like I'm like freaking out at you because you're the nearest person. But like every time, I'm always very aware of like when it's on the phone or it's like in front of people. Like, I'm never one of these people who wants to talk to the manager. I'm just one of those people that's like crying and like clearly having like a mental breakdown. So I've had people on the phone be like, okay, what I need you to do is just take a breath and like be with me here and like be in the middle. Like, I'm getting like a Lamaze classes. I remember the last time I was on the phone with a health insurance person, they were like, I need you to tell me 3 good things going on in your life right now. And I was like, what? And they're like, just name 3 things that you're grateful for right now. And I was like, I guess I'm grateful for my boyfriend and a place to live, and that like my birthday's coming up. And they're like, okay, so like what I want you to do tonight is I want you to like go and get yourself like a little cake, and I want you to like light some candles, and I want you to say thank you like to your boyfriend, and like, you know, just be so like, they were just like giving me like life advice. I was like, you didn't need to do any of that. Like, that wasn't in the Blue Cross description, but that probably is the best healthcare you're going to give me all year. Blue Cross is like that person on the phone just telling me a little bit of self-care.
That's amazing. And yes, Chris Taylor. So Chris has been keeping tabs of who my potential soulmate is. Yeah, dude, if you can mix a Manhattan, or better yet, a blood in sand, and look like a lumberjack, and like nerdy shit and movies, and can roll with the punches, and are emotionally stable.
Well, now it's a list.
Communicative, like decently emotionally stable.
Yeah.
Because I'm Italian, so I need a little bit of instability emotionally, because I need to be able to yell and like have my feeling
things. I've definitely been with people like, again, like the Mr. Peanut Butter scenario of being like, well, do you even like feel real things, or are you just like a Westworld host? Because like you're reacting to this very calmly. You're taking my insane behavior and like normalizing it, and I don't need you to normalize my insanity. You got to get mad at me sometime. Like life isn't just all roses. Stop telling me to like look up because you're like being normal when I'm being insane. No, if I'm being insane, you need to react accordingly and like flip out at me. Otherwise, I don't know that that's inappropriate behavior.
Dude, fucking level up with me. Because honestly, I've never had a boyfriend who will fight with me. Ever.
I've had one of those before, and it wasn't great because he was like, turns out that's what abuse can look like. But it took me a really long time to figure out, because I was like, oh, just someone who bullies me back.
Let me put this back. I've never had a boyfriend who will argue with me.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Well, I'm also Italian, so fighting is arguing is fighting, and like it just leads to really great sex. But
yeah, I'm Jewish, which is like, that's basically what religion is. You just argue with God's book, and you just say, why? It's basically what I do to movies. It's like, wait, being a rabbi means like you read the Torah and you go, wait, why would we do it this way? Like, why, God, why would you do it this way? That's all of Judaism, is why, God, would we do it this way? Why, God, just period, end of sentence, is like being Jewish. So that's baked into my epigenetic like DNA structure.
That's fair. I mean, I've been mistaken and actually courted to be Jewish my entire life. As a small child, I had to grow into my nose.
Okay.
And with a first name of Rachel and the last name of Silvestrini, that was constantly mistaken for Silverstein. There was a Jewish family down the street whose mother apparently was basically kind of grooming me to marry her son.
Well, wait, that's pretty big in the Jewish community, because we don't the whole thing is like, you can't marry. If you're a woman, you can marry a dude who's not Jewish because the kids will still be Jewish. They don't like it, but they will tolerate it.
Yeah.
If you're a Jewish man, you cannot marry a non-Jewish woman because the kids it's
it's maternal.
Jewish. Yeah.
Yeah. No, Coralie really wanted me to marry her son, Jonathan. And now like as like a preteen, I was kind of like, oh no, it's so gross. But now I'm like, he had a chess set that was Star Wars.
Yeah. Jewish kids are honestly the best.
But looking back, I'm like, okay, where is Jonathan Leader now? Because I'm
probably a doctor.
I would 100% be down. Like, I don't care what his job is. I'd 100% be down to like go get some like
Locks
Manischewitz wine together. Like, let's just be honest about
my first drunk with Manischewitz. It's not great, let me tell you. It's pretty sweet. It's like port wine drunk.
Oh, it's so sweet. It's hangover wine. Hey, Mike.
I would say the other thing is, hey, Mike, your hair does look fabulous. I complimented it before we got on screen.
You.
It's so good.
This is what your late 30s and access to Amazon Prime does to your hair.
Mid to late 30s. As someone who's the same exact age as you, mid to late 30s.
Mid to late 30s. Let's do mid 30s. It makes me feel young. I literally just watched Barb and Star.
Barb and Star, go to Vista Del Mar or whatever.
I watched it last night with my mom, and I was cackling laughing. And I'm like, I hope I'm like them when I'm older.
Yeah, I mean, I have this thing now where I've gotten very aware of my mortality and aging, and I'm like, no, I'm that Bo Burnham song where it's like, I'm turning 30, no, but like I'm 37, so I'm basically almost out of this decade, but I'm just coming to grips with the fact that I'm not 22 anymore, and my body can't deal with it. But I also think, when I look back on pictures, I'm like, no, I'm one of those people, again, just really good at being humble. I'm like, I'm one of those people who's getting hotter as they get older, so let's just assume I have the genetics of a dude, and I'll just keep getting more attractive, like every dude I know who's just growing into their face right now at like 37, and they're going to be like Don Draper by the time they're 45, and I'm supposed to be an old bag.
Okay, first of all, I'm just going to interrupt and say that is not hubris. That is just fact. You are stunning, and it's really fucking obnoxious. Your skin If I could skin you and wear you as a facial, I 100% would. Oh, shut up, Peggy. Peggy, you still look fucking younger than me.
What's that Crazy Ex-Girlfriend song where it's like, I want to kill you, like, and skin you and wear your skin as a vest, but also see you wearing me wearing you in my vest and say, oh my God, you look so good in my skin. Like, that's basically it. I've actually, it's an autoimmune disorder, if you want to know, like, quite honestly. That's what gives my skin the thing where I don't wrinkle. It's part of a larger and more complex system failure on my genetics part. But
you see system failure, I see system win.
Yeah, one of the side effects is you do not wrinkle, so that will not be happening to me.
You're stunning, and it's really fucking obnoxious. And if I didn't love you, I would hate you.
I found my first pimple when I was 20, and I did not know what was happening. Like, I was 20 years old, and I was like, what is this thing on my butt? And I touched it and, like, exploded. I was like, ah! I was like, it's spiders! I thought it was like that scary story I tell in the dark thing. I was like, it's full of spiders! It was the first time I had a pimple. It's crazy. Skinning with a switchblade.
Chris, I will say this. So it's really funny when I tell people this, because beyond everything, I am a survivalist.
Nice. You're like a Loki.
Yes. But I'm also a vegan, but I also understand that, like, once the zombie apocalypse happens, like, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen in like 5 years, because the way that we're going and the stupidity of humanity is progressing. It's gonna happen.
We're all gonna eat bats and then eventually just figure out, like, Florida style, like, what if we just try to eat each other's face? Yeah, that's
basically. But it's one of those things that I'm like, look, I'm gonna survive and I don't care what happens, but I know how to kill and skin a deer.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Use its body parts to, like, preserve its skin. It sounds really fucking weird, but, like,
it doesn't sound that weird.
I've read a lot of books. I understand how to do it. Did you know that every animal's brain is the exact perfect size to use to condition its fur, like its skin, to, like, be used as a pelt?
Would it surprise you to know that I used to take taxidermy classes? Like, I know a lot of things about the inside of what animals look like and stuff, but I only did it for aesthetic art things, not for like actual practical reasons. Like, I don't know how to use its meat. I just know how to make it, like, pose in weird ways with crystals that I found.
See, I was the only junior in my senior heavy class of physiology and anatomy to stay and hang out during an actual human, oh my God, what's it? Autopsy.
Wait, you guys got to watch an autopsy? What fucking school was this?
So it's a very highly academic school in San Jose. It's called Lembrook High, and we got to go to the coroner's office we were supposed to watch and observe, and it was very like it was like, if you want to, you can. You're not forced to.
You're like, but also,
yeah. But basically, like, it was supposed to be like a senior class, and, like, if there was openings, they would let juniors in. And because I found the human body fascinating, because my dad was an alumni and I'm fucking annoying and persistent. I got let into what?
Alumni of what?
Of the high school.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you just meant like an alumni in general, and I was like, that's I don't see the connection there. Gotcha.
No, he and both of his brothers graduated from the same high school that I did. I got to be in this class, and they were doing, like, an autopsy that we were allowed to participate in and, like, just go watch. But everybody ended up leaving, and my stepmom is an RN who is friends with the head coroner, and I got to stay and hang out. That's and actually got to, like, help. And, like, my teacher literally at one point was like, you can get back to school by yourself, right? And I'm like, I'm not going back to school. I'm going to stay here and help, because that was the permission slip I signed. And the coroner was like, yeah, that's fine with us. So I stayed and helped out, and I literally, like, got to help, like, cut the skull off.
Yo, dope.
It was amazing. It was so fucking fascinating. And people, like, literally from that day on were like, Rachel's weird. And I'm like, you guys are stupid. I know how a body works.
Yeah, I'm very much like of that I was like a creek kid. I'm not sure if you guys have that where you grew up, but like I was a kid who had a creek behind my house and was constantly in the creek and probably got a lot of infections in the creek. I had what I called summer feet, which were feet that were just entire calluses because I wouldn't wear shoes and I was like in a creek. So I was constantly stepping on rocks and slipping off of things and like just running as far as like the creek would take me, which is in Delaware, is across state lines and into a new state. So I'd just be like, just little Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn, just kind of like wandering around all day, all night, like every weekend. I would just be in the, like, where's Droop? I don't know, like follow the water. And I remember one time I was jumping across rocks and one of the rocks moved and I was like, oh, that's not a rock. It's like a giant turtle. So I just took my net, which I always had on me, and just dragged its ass like a mile and a half back to the house. And like my mom saw it and she started screaming and she's like, get away from it. That's like a snapping turtle. And I was constantly bringing home things like poisonous snakes and frogs and something, and like just I had all sorts of slimy, scaly pets growing up. But I remember like being very unsympathetic when they died. I was like, okay, time to cut it open. Like, let's see what's on the inside now. Very unsympathetic. Like I was like sad for the animal, but I realized that was not the animal anymore. And like
it's not unsympathetic; it's scientific. And as a comment on your creek feet, I came home from Warp Tour one summer.
Warp Tour. I used to go to Warp Tour.
We will talk about that in a hot second. I came home. I came home from, I think it was my first Warp Tour in 2000. My first full Warp Tour in 2006. Came home, lived in LA. Went with my best friend to go get pedicures from my favorite Vietnamese old man who was very, very sweet. His name was Tran. I love him so much. And I sat down at his station, and he like picked my foot out of like the hot soapy water, and he goes, oh no. And I'm like, what? And he goes, girl, you got hillbilly feet.
Oh shit. That's probably what you probably call my feet. Yeah, hillbilly feet.
Could not stop laughing. It was probably one of the best moments of my life.
My feet don't have enough bones in them. So like actually if you watch me walk, like if you're around me enough, you'll see that I only walk on my tiptoes. Like it's actually a thing now where my arches have shortened and I can't physically like stand flat. Like, and it hurts. Like it hurts. I'm constantly straining my legs because my arches have atrophied and like I can't stand flat on my feet anymore. But it's because I don't have enough bones in my toes, or I have too many bones in my toe. I forget which one it is. And so like my feet have always been like weird. So I've always had really bad balance. So I've just corrected it by only walking on like the balls of my feet. And now the problem is that my Achilles tendon has atrophied and I can no longer stand flat. Like I'm trying to figure out how to do it. So it actually always really hurts. And I'm always like getting these huge blisters on my feet because I don't like know how to walk like a human being anymore. My body has adjusted accordingly. Rachel the Butcher works. Somebody saying in the comments that I would call you the demon butcher of the den.
Oh, Rachel the Butcher. That would be great. That sounds really great. Although I was told that when I broached the nickname of the Switchblade, Christian was very like, no, that seems a little violent. And it was literally right after the match against Vinny. And I was like, I just played a guy called the Ice Pick.
Yeah. I remember that.
You can't tell an Italian that the Ice Pick is less violent than the Switchblade. Like that.
Well, wasn't Adam already the Razor?
No, he was calling me the Shining Star.
No, I'm saying Adam Witt was already the Razor Witt, though.
Yeah, he was the Razor. Yeah. But like that's kind of a play on words, like a razor wit, like you're razor sharp. Like I totally get that, but I was like, I just played a guy whose nickname was the Ice Pick.
So why the Switchblade?
Because I was teamed up with Ben at the time, and I kind of had a rockabilly vibe, and he kind of had like the slicked back hair rockabilly vibe too. So we had broached like being the outsiders.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. Rumblefish.
Yeah. And we got turned down, along with me being the Switchblade. And then and that was like literally like the thing that the only thing that fans have been able to verbally and vocally voice their opinions on was the fact that my nickname should be the Switchblade. And they harassed him so much on SEN that he was like, fine, I give up. She's the Switchblade. And I was like, I had nothing to do with this. Like, You brought it up on SEN. The fans took hold of it. They ran with it. I had like, he literally texted me at one point and was like, hey, can you like call off your dogs? And I'm like, I had nothing to do with this. This was all you. I love it. And I'm not going to like say I don't, but this is your sandbox. I'll do whatever you want. Yes, dude. Seize the carp.
Yeah, you had a pretty virulent campaign though about the cursing thing, which I kind of respected. That you were like, cursing should be allowed. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, cursing should be allowed.
Yeah, no, I think that this show, like, we're not running like it should be treated PG-13.
Yeah,
like I think that we should be able to say shit and damn it. I think there should be one fuck allowed per game.
Yeah.
But again, it's also not my sandbox. I'm not the one making the rules. Christian can make up the rules however he wants.
I like your attitude about it. I mean, my thing is that I'm always just very contrary. So like, I will have an issue. Sorry, I'm like, we talked about the feet thing. So I now remembered I have a foot mask and I'm trying to figure out how to put it on so I can get my feet going good. Like, that's what I'm doing over here.
Is it one of those Korean foot masks that like your skin just like peels off?
But like, I don't know how to open. Like, it was supposed to open this. So how do I open it? Okay, so I'm going to figure that out.
I'm dying to try one of those.
It's so weird. You put them on for 30 minutes, and then a week later, all the skin on your feet falls off. And it's really weird.
See, I think that would be great, but I also am like terrified of how sensitive my feet would be because I like.
Numb. Your feet don't have as many things as you would think, like, and as many nerves as you would think they do. Like, I don't think feet do, just in general.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just scared.
What I'm saying is, like, don't ever put me on one of those feet sites unless you want people to be traumatized. You know, those like celeb wiki feet things. Like, if you saw my feet, you would be like, oh no, like something's wrong. Like, if you've seen Old yet, and I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't, but like,
but I've heard
really messed up sequence there's a very scary sequence about bones and stuff. And like, if you saw my feet, you'd be like, oh no, bones, humans. It would make you realize that humans are nothing more than fucked up skeletons, basically, is looking at my feet.
I mean, as a massage therapist, I understand that people are just fucked up skeletons.
Yeah, it's not hobbit. People are saying it's hobbit feet. It ain't hobbit feet. It is like, what's the spider thing? It's like the spider thing. Like, it'd be like that. It'd be like, what's her name? This Showa. No, it's not Showa. It's like the spider thing from Lord of the Rings. Like, or Gollum. It would be like Gollum feet.
Oh.
Eagle feet.
See, I've got like, I don't know. I've got tiny feet. Like, I am so unproportional. Like, in my teenage years, my sisters used to call me the unproportional girl because, like, my feet were really small.
That's a lot of words.
Like, growing up, like, my feet were really small, and then, like, I had, like, wide hips, a very skinny waist, and then, like, giant boobs, and, like, I just looked like I should just fall over.
Yeah.
I have since
people with the big boobs early, because I definitely was, and it was very cool. It's just as cool as the people who don't have big boobs think it's cool. It is that cool and even better than you would think. It's awesome.
It is. I follow them wherever they lead me.
Yeah.
They get me into and out of so much trouble. I miss, like, it's like people are like, they cause back problems, and people are like,
it's a lot of trade-offs.
I'm like, no, I would never say goodbye to my best friends.
I can't like ever not wear a bra. I wear a bra to sleep. I wear a bra always because it's uncomfortable for me not to. But like, I was also like, I remember like the popular girls in middle school coming up to me and being like, so like, how do you like clasp it? And like, what do you do with them? And I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, I could tell you, but like, then you'd have to be friends with me on the lunch playground. So they chose not to ask the bra questions is what I'm getting at. But I always kind of looked like I was 35, and I'm now just like, now that like looks really cool. But as a like 14-year-old, I just always looked kind of like I was chaperoning the school dance or whatever.
Yeah.
I was terrible.
I was a C cup in 8th grade.
Yeah, I was getting up there. I remember like there was a point where we just stopped being able to count because like Marshalls didn't have like bras that went up to the stuff that I was. So for a while I was just like,
you had to go to Fredericks of Hollywood and feel like a freak. Yeah.
And then when I got to the Observer, at a certain point, I did a story about like bra sizing and vanity bra sizing, and I realized that there was a difference between like the band, like, and the cup, and like that actually the proportion is what gives you the letter. So if you have a really small, I have a really small rib cage, but therefore like I have a very big cup size because the cup size is determined by the inch of the diameter of your rib cage to the diameter of your boobs at the widest point. So that's what determines the cup size. So if you have a small rib cage, you're actually like a 28G instead of like a 34B or whatever. It's only determined by the size of your rib cage, and mine just happens to be weirdly disproportionate.
And it's always it's like the one thing that you can kind of rely on for sizing between store to store as a female, whereas like guys can literally go from one store to literally any other store and be like, okay, great, I need pants. I'm a 34 waist and like a 36 long, and you can find that instantly, whereas girls go from like one store to another and be like, okay, well, at this store I'm a 5, and at this store I'm a 17, and at this store I'm a 6. Like,
I don't know what kind of fancy dudes you're hanging out with. I know most of the guys I know are like, I'm a medium, and you're like, a medium what? A medium top? A medium bottom? How many inches? No, you're a medium. Okay.
As somebody who worked in merchandising for so long, like I love it when somebody tells me their size, and I'm like, no, you're not. Like I can literally look at somebody and be like, I know exactly what size you are.
For merchandising, I always go, I'm a men's small, because that's what looks good with my boobs too. It's like men's small is like the good cut on me, because like it can't be women's medium, because who knows, Lord, what that's gonna look like.
Don't ever go by women's sizes. Always go by men's sizes, because you can always tailor down. I would say for you to go a men's medium and tailor in on the sides, because it's it's not gonna like stretch horribly and feel awful in your armpits. But if you go a men's medium vertically, you can tailor in on the waist.
I mean,
and it'll fit you like a goddamn.
I don't know how to sew, but I guess I do know how to taxidermy, which is kind of like sewing but on skin.
I think you can get away with it. And I feel like you would be really good with like cutting it down the sides and like shredding it and then like tying it down.
A lot. What I'm bad at is like the sewing that keeps it together. So I use the safety pin a lot. I'm bad at the part of sewing that like requires you to put that thing in the beginning of it, like that little knot, and then knot it off at the end. I can do the actual sewing.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to learn that in knitting. I'm getting like a little thumper here. This is Sammy, by the way. She's one of two.
Hi, Sammy. I can't wait to meet you. Look at that face. She's so happy.
Yeah, she is.
She's such a sassy girl.
She is a sassy girl. And when we met her, she was catatonic. Like I thought she was broken because she was so traumatized from whoever her owners had been. Like when they'd thrown her sister out of a car, so her sister had a broken leg, and like she was like the first thing that we did when we got her was we took him back to Nerd Chronic's house just for like a little test to his parents' house in Tulare. I'm remembering that's where his parents live, and she immediately jumped out of my arms, ran underneath the portable shed, and I was like, oh my god, like that's a nightmare. And then she just sat there, like wherever we took her, she just sat and like was too scared to move and too scared to like bark. And then 2 weekends later, we brought home somebody, a little dog that's running around here somewhere, Tulpa, who had been fostered at the same place that she had been fostered. And the moment we brought Tulpa home, Sammy became the most sassy little bitch and started barking at anybody and became like such a diva and barked at anyone who got near her sister and like really stepped up to the plate. So now she's like a very confident, if yappy doggy who doesn't like new people, but like is a totally brave like dog who knows who herself is.
I love how all the men are like, this is too sad. Can we go back to talking about bra sizes and hugging?
Oh, the dog thing?
That's so fucking just that like they just like it gives me equal like sadness and like just fiery rage to track that person down and just like throw them out of a moving car.
I can't. My passion for like being kind to wait people and stuff is only matched by my passion to actually internet detective where people who I think have like committed injustices live, find out everything about them, like their social, like everything about them, and then go on like a campaign to ruin their lives. And I really have to temper that impulse. Like I have to actively be told like, Drew, let it go. Drew, get off whitepages.com and stop spending money to find out like their parents' home address. That's like, I mean, like honestly, if I was in the 80s, it would be such a fatal attraction moment for me. Like I don't really do it on my own behalf, but I definitely do it on behalf of animals or friends that have been wronged or people that have been scammed. Like I will hunt you down like a dog if that's what I did to dogs.
I mean, I always said that if I ever found out, in high school, I had a friend who I found out was being abused by her boyfriend.
Oh no.
And I found out about this because she changed late in PE and I had to run back to my locker for cheer and get something out of my locker. And I saw her like literally like, it was very like, like after school special, like she was pulling down the t-shirt for PE on her back, and it was just like covered in bruises, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, did he do this to you? Like her boyfriend? I'm like, did he do this? And she's like, Rachel, don't do anything. I'm like, fuck that. Changed, got in my car, went over to his house, pulled my softball bat out of my trunk, and I put him in the fucking hospital. Like, fuck you.
Whoa. That story took a turn. You put him in the hospital?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
I broke his left leg, his pelvis, 3 ribs, gave him a concussion. I dislocated his eye.
Oh my God. I knew
his zygomatic process. Yeah, no, you don't fuck with my friends like that. Like, no, absolutely not. And I ended up going back to his house after that happened. I heard he got out of the hospital. I went back to his house. His mom answered the door, and she like knew who I was. And she literally like hugged me because she had been a product of abuse. Like her husband had abused her, and like he's seen that as a child and like thought that was okay. And she like hugged me and she was like, thank you. I was like, thank you for not pressing charges, because you 100% could have, and I could be in juvie right now. I was 16 at the time. FYI.
16. I was about to say my physical violent days, because I was a kind of bully, and I took a lot of issues out physically on people, and it wasn't cool. Like that's never cool to do. But like I felt like I got like sort of a weird pass because I was a girl that was doing it, and because I was bullied a lot by dudes. I remember, but I was like never cool, and it was never for a good reason. My physical violence was always like elbow checking like a girl who'd been mean to me like into a locker, or like one time I pushed my friend off of something and broke her arm because like I didn't like what she was saying about me. Or another time, Matt Wells was like, who I had a crush on, said like something that was like gross looking, and I slammed his head into a water fountain and broke like 2 of his teeth. And the next day he said he liked my eyebrows. So, you know, go Matt. That worked. One time I was very little. This is one of my first memories. Is I was running up a flight of stairs for the Bronx Zoo, which has very, very steep stairs. I think it's the Bronx Zoo. Yeah, very steep stairs, outside stairs. And I was racing my friend Alex, and I saw that he was going to win. We were racing our strollers up the stairs. So I was very young. And so I like Spartacus style, like just threw my leg out, like caught it on his stroller, and he went just flying backwards, broke all of his front teeth, like chipped them in half, like was screaming. And I remember going down there and being like, oh, I've got to cover for this. And I started screaming so loud that when the ambulance came, they came and took me away instead of Alex, because they assumed I was the one who was hurt. I think the arm breaking was the last time I was physically violent with somebody, and it was definitely for not as good of a reason as they were beating up a friend. But mine is way more like the net style. Like, let me go, and like I have to impulse not dox people, because I'm like, I know where you live, fucker. Like I'm going to tell the internet where you live. Like I go after people so hard, like on Twitter, that like I actively just know that I think inherently I just know, like, don't go on Twitter and start fights, because my impulse is to go so much harder than anyone will go. And like that gets the trolls out. And I realized recently the issue with that is not for my own health and safety. It's for the health and safety of people who come to my defense. And like those people like don't deserve to be doxxed or like brought into the mix. And like, so I will back off and stay away from like the anti-Semitic trolls on Twitter. But like, that stuff like doesn't really bother me. And like, if they say something about me, I will give it back to them so hard that it will literally scare them. Like they're going to talk about like how I deserve to be raped during the Holocaust. I'm going to talk about how I could take a high heeled boot and like, you know, pierce it through their scrotum. Like I will go so hard, and I will find out like where their parents live and send them an email screenshot of like the entire conversation. I just do not let up. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that part I'm not against. But I personally, I'm more of like you can say whatever the fuck you want about me. Like that's fine. Like I tell myself way worse than you're ever gonna tell me. But if you come after my friends, I will flay you.
That's really what it is.
On public display and stand in front and wait for the cheers. Like I do not give a fuck.
Well, I'm also like I'm the you know, people the strategy of like what's it called, mutually assured destruction. That strategy just doesn't work on me, because I will gladly kamikaze myself in front of it. What do I got to lose? I don't give a shit about my own reputation. Like honestly, go at me, son. Like I have nothing to lose. So like I will gladly like jump in front of a bomb and say like disgusting shit and like look horrible if it means like defending a friend or, you know, if I will gladly take the heat for anybody. But like I realize that a lot of people also feel that way about me. And like, so I need to temper that because you don't want like other, like there's trolls out there right now. I have friends that are like scared for their children's lives because they write stuff on the internet for like Harper's Bazaar and they say things that are considered SJW and like they can't say their child's name on Instagram now that they've had a kid because God forbid someone finds out like people have put them on lists and like it's so scary in the world right now. I just have no regard for my own, I guess, health and safety that I don't give a shit. Like I think it's like Mad Max at this point. And like fine, come at me. Like we've got a other kind of dog here that is a pit bull. Like come at me. Like I will Home Alone trap this entire place. But like don't come after my people and maybe I will back off for their sake, you know?
Yeah, I'm 100% the same way. Like
fucking Rachel Bolton, someone said. Bolton was my house flag. I think I have the Bolton house flag somewhere on me because that was my favorite house in Game of Thrones. I loved Ewan Rion from here you are, Topa. From his show Misfits. And so when he showed up, I was like, oh, I love that guy. And then he started doing bad things. And I was like, still kind of love that character. He's such a bad guy. But like he's such a good villain.
Did you know that there's the other one. Oh, she's got an underbite like me.
She's got such a bad underbite. It's so funny. She's so beautiful. She's like me, bad teeth. Bad teeth, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I have such an underbite that like my orthodontist wanted to break my jaw to cut out parts of my jaw to reset it back. And my parents were like, no.
Yeah, I'm afraid to bring her to a vet because the vet's going to be like, her jaw needs to be redone. But I'm like, she doesn't care. She doesn't care. She looks like a little predator. She's like an alien or a predator. She looks like a xenomorph mixed with like a predator thing with her little plus. Oh my God. Hello.
Tulpa.
Tulpas are imaginary beings that you wished into existence. So like you think about them so hard, they become like creatures that exist and have minds of their own. And that's what she is. She's a little creature that I wanted to exist. And now she exists.
I'm not even joking. There's an instance and I bring this back because I'm such a fucking nerd. There is an episode in it's the 200th episode of Supernatural, and
the Tulpa episode. I heard about this.
Oh, the musical episode?
No, the Tulpa episode. No, I heard about the episode with the Tulpa, and also they have a Twin Peaks. Oh no, that's Psych that has the Twin Peaks.
That's Psych. Psych has a Twin Peaks episode.
But I heard about the Tulpa one.
Supernatural has it's the 200th episode. It's a musical episode as well, and they have a tulpa, and there is they literally turned the story of Supernatural into a musical that this all girls high school is performing. It's fucking amazing and hilarious. But there is a tulpa, and there's a moment where like they like was it Dean walks up with like the girl who's helping him search, and he goes, it's a tulpa, and he's like, it's not a tulpa. And I was like, as soon as I heard tulpa, I said the same line, and I was like, it's perfect. 200 episodes, yes. Thrawn, Supernatural went on for 16 seasons. It's ridiculous and insane, and I believe
the fandom is crazy. Like I know, I mean, not saying you, but like the fandom, like wasn't there something recently with like one of the guys where they were like,
there's always something with one of the guys. There's always something. Jared Leto, whoa,
Jared Padalecki.
Whoa. Sorry, I was literally looking at the ads for House of Gucci. Jared Padalecki has gone on to be in Walker, the remake for Walker Texas Ranger, and Jensen Ackles is now going to be in The Boys season 3, which I'm very fucking excited about because it's also being
really
led.
Exciting.
It's not just the fact that he's in it, but it's also the fact that the showrunner for The Boys is Eric Kripke, and Eric Kripke is the creator of Supernatural, so he knows exactly what he's fucking doing.
Whoa. The showrunner for The Boys is the creator of Supernatural or backwards?
Yep. Yeah, no,
that's crazy.
Yeah, Eric Kripke is phenomenal. Sorry guys if it's glitching a little bit. My Wi-Fi is a little iffy right now, but yes, dude, Thrawn, you gotta watch it. It is so insane.
That's such a commitment, though. Yes. I mean, I gotta say, like, I and again, this is coming from someone who used to recommend TV. It's so hard to do something like Supernatural because you're like, you have to commit to like 9 seasons or something. It's like, you know, a crazy amount of television. And right now I'm supposed to be studying for like movie trivia, but I find it so hard because I'm like, but I just want to watch I want to get into a new show. There's so many like episodes of TV or programs that I haven't watched yet because I'm supposed to be watching movies and I feel guilty whenever I don't. Like I feel actual like like the shame you'd feel from not doing a project at school, I feel when
Yeah.
I'm watching TV and not a movie.
I literally do not watch TV series while I know that my season is open and available for movie trivia.
Really? So you didn't watch Loki or anything, or?
I mean, I did. Well, my match taped, I think, like three episodes into Loki, and so I didn't watch it until after I was done.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess I do that sometimes. Like I don't know. It's really hard. I mean, what I do is I compromise and just watch a lot of honest trailers and pitch meetings. Like I'm like, or like a High Network, which used to be the movie show that Greg Turkington and Tim Heidecker do, because it's like a send up of movie review shows. And so I'll watch that all the time because I love the way that, like, they mispronounce every name, and it's just like this big, it's a big like in joke like alternate universe of movie reviews. But that's how I like memorize certain things that like otherwise would just be totally passing me by, because there's just not enough time to watch every movie that was ever existed and memorize all the details about them. There's just not. Like,
I mean, you can watch them, but it's so hard to like absorb them in such like a rapid succession of like one movie after the other.
And my brain just doesn't work like that. Like I can watch something and then literally not know what year it came out or the director. Like my brain doesn't work on like sort of information like that. It's more of like a synthetic, or like not synthetic. What's the word I'm looking for? I take different elements of different things and I synthesize. I have a synthesizing way of memorizing stuff. And like I can't really do the thing where I'm like, oh, well, this movie came out in 1998. And like, this is who starred in it, and like, this is who directed it, and like, here's all the information. Like, my brain doesn't do that. My brain's like, oh, weren't you in that episode of Westworld and maybe that episode of Sex and the City? And now I remember that Terry Bradshaw is the dad from Failure to Launch, because Carrie Bradshaw was the name of Sarah Jessica Parker in Sex and the City, and she's in Failure to Launch. That's how we get from A to B there.
I will say this, Peggy, you did not annoy me into watching Ted Lasso. I had always wanted to start Ted Lasso, but I didn't need Ted Lasso until very recently, when I hit a very, very giant low, and I needed that positivity. And I will say this, everybody needs Ted Lasso in their life.
Yeah, Ted Lasso is great. I mean, but I agree with you. Like, Ted Lasso is like, if you have a match or something coming up, you have something important, you don't need Ted Lasso in your life. Ted Lasso will be there when you have a moment. But like, that's not a pressing concern the way that, like, you know, watching 5 Easy Pieces will be a concern. Like,
oh, Mike, I am so excited for you to meet the positivity of Ted Lasso. It is
gentle comedy.
It is. It's gentle. It's loving. It's nurturing. It's so fucking great. Yeah. But I kind of
your best friend's dad that you wish that you had kind of comedy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so great. But I do want to go back to Warped Tour.
Yeah, yes, please. Oh my God. That's when I still could go to concerts without having panic attacks.
Who did you go to Warped Tour for? I am very, very curious.
I went to Warped Tour for the guy that I had a crush on who was going to Warped Tour. I definitely went to Warped Tour I was like listening to Chicago on the way there. I went to Warped Tour because some guy I remember Silverchair was there that year. I think Green Day was there. Like I think those were the two bands that I saw. Like Silverchair was definitely one of them.
Oh my God.
And I think Green Day was maybe there, or like the one I used to confuse with Green Day, the other one. Again, the music is not my forte. So it was like Green Day, and the other one that sounded like Green Day or dressed like Green Day, which was
all of them at the time.
Yeah, I guess. But like the Do You Have the Time? And that it was Green Day, right? Do you have the time?
To listen to me whine.
It was like the other band that had a song like that. Oh, you know what? It might have been the guys who sang The Middle. You know, that song that doesn't sound at all like Green Day, but you know, we just take some time.
We'll go in the middle after a while. Yeah, that's
I really like that. That wasn't Weezer. That was what's it called? Jimmy Eat World. That's Jimmy
Eat World.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the
Weezer's the band I am thinking of though. Weezer and Green Day kind of in my mind were the same. So Weezer might have been on the same tour as Silverchair. Again, I don't know one Silverchair song, but I just remember them very much being on the billing.
I feel like you don't know a Silverchair song like off the top of your head, but if you heard a Silverchair song, you would be like, "Oh my God, yeah, I remember that song being on the radio."
You'd really be overestimating how much I listen to the radio and anything that's not musicals. Like people are always surprised. They're like, "No, you'll know if you hear it." And I'm like, listen to it. And I'm like, there's some songs that get caught in my head, like Jimmy Eat World's The Middle, or like a couple of the music videos that were directed by Michelle Gondry that I'll like remember, like Everlong, I'll Always Know, and a couple of the others that hit at the right time. But for the most part, music, like I heard Beyonce's Halo, and like it was like 10 years after Halo, and everyone's like, you know Halo, right? And I'm like, this is the first time I'm hearing this jam. Like, and I was married to a guy who literally his job is to make rap music references on the news every night, and that relationship was very, very like confusing on multiple levels because he was always making references that I had no idea what he was saying, and I was like, "Are you calling me a bitch or a hoe?" And he'd be like, "No, I'm saying that from the song," and I'm like, "No, that's not okay." No, and I'd constantly be like, it's I love you, like Dolores Claiborne loves murdering her husband or something, like I'd always be making movie references that he thought was too scary because all movies were too scary to him. Like I tried to tell him the plot of Pinocchio, and he was like, "That sounds really scary," and I was like, "Well, it is, but like, come on, man."
To be fair, I've always wanted like a Guillermo del Toro version
of reality
of Pinocchio, of just like creepy, like crazy characters. Like I want that treatment.
Pinocchio. It was Cinderella, because I got to the part where he was like, "Oh, it's a real Cinderella story," and he was like, "What is that reference?" He's like, "People make that reference all the time." He's like, "What does that refer to?" And I was like, "Well, because it turns from a pumpkin." I was like, "It turns a pumpkin into a thing, and it turns the the mice into horses." And he goes, "Oh no, I don't like that. That's too scary." And I was like, "What part?" And he goes, "The part where you turn mice into horses and a pumpkin into a carriage, and then it turns back." He's like, "That's really scary." And I was like, "I've never thought of it like that. I guess that is, if you didn't know what was happening, that would be kind of scary." But
I mean, from the mouse's perspective, yeah. I mean, Bruno, the dog, gets turned into a footman. He's super fucking pleased.
Yeah. I was like, but also your family watches Shoah as like a yearly ritual. So like, I don't know what your idea of scary is, because that movie's just 4 hours of the Holocaust. Yeah. So I don't know where you think scary begins, but we have very different definitions.
Yes, I know that Del Toro is making a stop motion Pinocchio, but like I've always wanted like I understand that like all of the fairy tales that Disney made into movies actually have a very dark German background.
Yeah,
that are terrifying. Like Cinderella is not a fucking fairy tale.
They cut
like,
off
Lady Tremaine cuts off the heels and the toes of her daughters to fit into that fucking glass slipper, and she does not give a shit. It is terrifying.
I've learned most about fairy tales from like being obsessed with Into the Woods. I'm still obsessed. It's like probably one of my favorite things of all time. Just like full art stop is my favorite art, is Into the Woods by Sondheim. Because no matter what age I am, I find a different. Not the movie. The movie is kind of crappy.
Oh no, the movie's trash.
My friend Billy plays one of the princes that's not Chris Pine. He plays the other prince, and he gets to sing Agony. And he's
first of all, Agony is one of the best songs in any musical. I had a friend who was on tour with Beauty and the Beast with me, who did a version of Agony where it's two Gastons singing about Belle, and it is fucking amazing.
I remember being in middle school. Me and my friend thought it would be very meta and very cool to do the reprise of Agony, but pretend like it's for like a winter musical thing that our school was doing. We were very young, and so we did the reprise of Agony, but we did it as people, like little kids looking for their present under the tree. So we were like singing about like high and like the tower, and like how they're like stuck in little glass boxes, and the whole. I love that song because it's the perfect Sondheim song. Again, Sondheim also did Sweeney Todd, of like the lack of self-awareness of characters comes through in the lyrics. Like, like these two really rich, very privileged princes singing about how hard life is because they're always chasing after something they want and like not something they need, and like how hard is it to be them. It's kind of like they have another song that really hit at a certain age was that song by, I think it's Three Doors Down, if not Five for Fighting. I always get the two confused. They also both made songs about this subject of Superman. And specifically the song, not Kryptonite, it's the one that's It's Not Easy to Be Me, where it's like, I can't stand to fly, I'm not that, and it's like, I'm more than a bird, I'm more than a plane.
Shit, is that Five for Fighting?
I think that's a more pretty face beneath the train, and it's not easy to be.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. That was the summer that my friend Scott was the only one with a driver's license, and he had Bessie, the massive farmhand truck that we like could sit 5 of us hip to hip wide in the front seat. Oh my God.
So like I love that song because it is literally a song that seems very unself-aware. Like it is a song that asks you to be like sorry for Superman because it's like not easy to fly and like man shouldn't be able to do all these things, but he can, so it's not easy to be him. That song is pretty unself-aware, but like Agony in Into the Woods is very self-aware, where they're like, it's just so hard to be this like white rich prince and to be constantly running after things that you can almost get, and like how the fun of it is the yearning for it, and like how that's, and once they have it they don't really want it anymore. And there are other characters in Into the Woods that are aware that once they get it they won't want it. And so I love that musical because no matter where I am in life, if I'm a child and like making it about Christmas toys, or if I'm like an adult thinking about like the baker's wife being like, you know, once you have an and you have to go back to or, it makes
oh my god
more than it did before. Like there are lines in that are just so resonant to like what it means to be an adult, a child, like to deal with the loss.
I'm not even joking. There are times when I just listen to that song about and or and it fucks with my head and it makes me feel better about my life. But I think the Sondheim musical that really resonates with me the most is Company.
I like I know that's a lot of people's favorites. Like
well, it wasn't my favorite at the beginning when I first watched it or heard it, because I think in my like early 20s when I heard it, and I was like, this is bullshit, it's ridiculous. Like some guys complaining about getting like brought over to his friend's house for dinner.
Yeah, that's always what struck me. I was like, this guy's really complaining about a dude being like having a birthday party thrown in his favor,
right?
And like getting a lot of chicks, but not like getting married. Like chill.
Oh, this fucking douchebag Bobby. But then I literally was in London I was in London visiting friends, and I was there to watch Roka's Top 10 episode in London, and I got, the night before I left, I got to see the gender bend version of Company.
Oh, I heard that was great. Was LuPone in that? Was Patti LuPone in that?
It was Patti LuPone.
Oh, that's awesome. It was like a gay guy not getting married, right? That was like the thing.
No, it was a girl. It was a girl named Bobby with an I.
No. But I'm saying the not getting married song was sung by a dude. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was
that song. Yeah.
He fucking nailed it. Everything about this show was amazing. I was front row. I was crying through the entire show. So the entire cast got to watch me weep. Patti LuPone was less than 3 feet away from me when she sang The Ladies Who Lunch. Like everything about this show was everything to me. And it also happened 2 months before my 35th birthday.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I remember I found Company right before, like a couple months before getting married. And like, so I picked and choose. I've never seen it in person like the way you have. So it probably resonates differently, but I find certain songs of his and then get into the musical that way. So I found Not Getting Married Today, which by the way is maybe one of the best Sondheim songs ever created. And it's the fastest song before Guns and Ships came on from Hamilton, which was like Lin-Manuel's direct response of being Sondheim's protege because of Merrily Roll Along, which is I'll get to in a second. But like he wrote Guns and Ships just to outpace Not Getting Married Today, which is all from the internal monologue of this one woman, like frantic about getting married and like having a panic attack, and just like this external world is like very somber and like doing the wedding stuff, and like she's just like, you know, her mind is racing and all you hear are the racing song, the thoughts, and it goes so fast that I don't think any woman honestly has the lung capacity to pull off that song the way he meant to have it pulled off. So I've always been really interested in seeing the gender swap version, because I've heard dudes do it before and they can like swell their lungs to do all the words that need to be done in one breath in that song. It's so fast. It's so fast. It's crazy.
I will say the physiological reason behind it is because guys don't have a uterus and ovaries to crowd that part of their body, and so their lungs are actually bigger, size wise, and they can handle the breath that is needed. No matter how trained you are or whatever, it literally, like, it's easier for guys to sing the role. But I will tell you, sitting in that front row and hearing that song, like hearing that show 2 months before I turned 35, fucking destroyed me. There's just something about theater, guys, if just fucking join Broadway HD for a week, do the sample tour. Oh my god, it's so fucking great.
I think the Into the Woods version, if you've only seen the movie of Into the Woods, go like watch the one with Joanna not Newsom, Joanna Gleason and Chips and Dell, I think his name is, and Bernadette Peters. Go find it. I think it's on YouTube. You can find it. It's not that hard.
If it's not on YouTube, message me. I have the files saved on my hard drive. I will share it in my Google Drive to you guys. I do not care. Art is meant to be shared. I do not care what the fuck happens to me legally. But like,
I don't think Broadway's coming after you. Big Broadway. It's got bigger things to worry about.
Sondheim's ghost is not going to come after me. It's fine.
He's alive.
Is he still alive? Yeah,
He's
it's fine.
Absolutely
Sondheim's not going to come after me.
It scared me.
Yeah.
He just had his 80th birthday during quarantine. They had this huge, like.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing. No, I hope. You know what? I hope that when we're in New York, is company going to be open?
I mean, I don't know what's open in New York right now. I know Broadway. That's a Maxwell question. I mean, I'll always forever be grateful to PJ because he convinced me to go see Beetlejuice. And I saw 3 days before I left New York. I saw that and 6, and I'm so glad because the next night they shut down Broadway, and I think it's opening up back now again, but I don't know what's on there.
Most things will be open by the time that we're there. But I do have a friend who was on tour with me for An American in Paris and was auditioning at the time to be in the band's Visit on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And he made it in there, and now he's in the company cast. And I'm so fucking excited. So if company is open while we're there in New York for Schmoedown, like I am 100% going. And I would love to go see that with you because there's nothing that I love than seeing shows with other like fucking Broadway fans. It just makes my heart so fucking happy.
I mean, I'm such a Broadway. Nerd Chronic told me the other day that he's never seen a Broadway play, or like not Broadway, like just a play in general. He's never seen a play, like a musical or anything. And I was like, oh man, I'm so excited to bring you to that because I can't do concerts. It's not because I don't think they're cool or whatever. It's like just a kind of agoraphobia that I have. Like I can't be with a bunch of people crammed into a space like that. Like people that like, you know, I was watching we were watching the Freddie Mercury movie the other day, and like there's a shot of Light Aid near the end, and like my skin started to crawl because the idea of like that many people being in one even outdoor location just makes me like really freaked out. So I unfortunately can't go see live music, but plays are different because you sit in a seat and like everyone's orderly and like I don't know how you do it. The chaos of live shows just seems really panic inducing.
It is, but yeah, so you're referencing Bohemian Rhapsody, which is fucking amazing. I got to see that at the Chinese Theater on Hollywood with Brandon, and who else went with us? I literally like blacked out anybody else who was there because like it was all about the movie and all about the experience, and it sounded so great in that theater, and it just like brought me back to live shows, and it made me so fucking happy. No, I'm very fucking excited to go back to New York and go see a show. Do you remember what your first show on Broadway was? Yeah,
my first show on Broadway was Fiddler. My grandma took me to see Fiddler first. That was my first one, and I got very freaked out by the Tevia's Dream song, which is also the coolest part of Fiddler. It's like that whole nightmare sequence where Sarah is like the ghost. Yeah, Sarah. Well, I don't know why I wouldn't be able to say that. That's my name. She's coming back from the dead, and she's a ghost, and she's like threatening Tevia's kid, and all the ghost dead people are there, and you know, blessing on your house, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. You know, it's just a creepy minor song. Really freaked me out as a kid because they make the woman like 9 feet tall and as swinging back and forth from the rafters. So that scared the crap out of me. I think my second one was Cats, and then I think it was like Guys and Dolls. I saw like the show ones, like Cats, Guys and Dolls. I think it took me a while to see Into the Woods because it never really was a Broadway thing. I got really into Rent in middle school.
As we all did.
Fucking thing. My whole Rent thing was such a mood and such a stage, and like how into like the AIDS like as an aesthetic, the AIDS movement as an aesthetic I was as like a 7th grader is like very cringy to look back on. I had like a Rent desk. I had a Rent themed room. I was all about the Rent thing. Wow. And then like looking back on Rent, so much of it does not age well because you're like, well, you still got to pay rent. Like I was listening to a podcast recently and somebody was like, you might know Taye Diggs as the guy who was right in Rent. And I was like, exactly. Taye Diggs, as Benny, the character who was correct in demanding that people pay their rent because you can't live with
not pay rent.
Not pay rent. You can't just do that. I don't care if you're sick. I don't care, whatever. Now it's a little different, but like there were people in that show who were not sick, who just refused to get jobs, and they're like using it as a cultural movement. Like, we're not going to pay rent.
Yeah.
Why not?
You're
like,
bougie. You want money. You live off of money. Bitch, everyone lives off of money.
Also, these people had parents. You find that out immediately in the voicemails, that these people have parents who like care about them and want them home and are willing to take care of them. And these people are like, no, we'd just rather bother our old roommate who now owns the building and has let us live rent-free for an entire year about like our art and make it about our art. And at various points are offered jobs in the play and like quit them because fuck the man. But also, what world? In what world is that okay? Like, that is the millennial snowflake that everyone's complaining about on the other side of the argument now. It's the people in rent.
Yeah. I will say this, Amber. Yes, October. We are going to see fucking movies. I'm staying with you for a week. We're hanging out. We're going to fucking Broadway shows. That's what we're doing. Like, every spare second that I have in New York, if I'm not in if I cannot be in a show, I will be sad. 100%. Like, I don't care. Take all of my money. I just need to, like, dude, live entertainment. What's your favorite Broadway show?
Probably Into the Woods. I mean, it's Into the Woods Broadway. I mean, it's got to be Sondheim. So even though I've never seen Sweeney Todd live, I think like that would be a huge one for me. Broadway HD has a great version where they intersperse. I don't know how they filmed this. It was like the original Angela Lansbury one, but they intersperse like shots that were clearly from a live taping with ones where people, like, the cameraman's on stage with you and like moving around. So it's really cool. I think I would love to see Sweeney Todd. The best one I've ever seen actually live was I got to see the original cast of Hamilton, not at the Public, so no big deal. But I did see the original cast with everyone original, except I didn't see Jonathan Groff, although he wasn't even the first. I got to see Andrew Reynolds from Girls and Big Mouth. He was King George when I saw it. I really wanted to see Taran Killam as King George. Like, that would have been great. Can't even find like an online video of him being Taran Killam being King George. I also really wanted to see the Jake Gyllenhaal, Taran Killam, Ellen Green version of Little Shop when that was off Broadway, I think, for a little bit. Because it was still Ellen Green from the movie, but paired off with Jake Gyllenhaal, and then Taran was the dentist. And they do have YouTube clips of that, and it's awesome. His one like really gives Steve Martin a run for its money. So yeah, I mean, the dark ones like Sweeney Todd, Into the Woods, Little Shop, anything like that, it's probably my favorite. Beetlejuice was actually fantastic, so that's up there too.
I literally ran into oh my god, Alex. So one of the last times I was in New York was in like the January, when we did the January show, and I think it was 2019.
2020, beginning of 2020 was the January show?
No, 2019. The last time I was there.
Oh, last time you were there. Okay. I was like,
one of the last times I was in New York was January 2019. It was the first New York live show, I think. And Max had beautifully gifted us with closing night tickets to go see School of Rock.
Oh, with the guy from Beetlejuice, right?
Oh my god. So Alex wasn't on stage, but he was there, and I ended up running into him during intermission.
Alex Brightman?
Yeah, Alex Brightman.
Oh, that's crazy.
And like, he was walking up to the concessions, and I was walking back down to my seats in the orchestra. And we like ran into each other, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so excited for you, because like that was when they were like in rehearsals for Beetlejuice. Like he had just got cast in Beetlejuice, and I was like, I'm so looking forward to seeing you in Beetlejuice. Like, I'm like, you're so great. I can't wait to see what you do.
Yeah, that show was always going to be like, just like, that show was going to close no matter what, because of not Brigadoon, although they do say fuck Brigadoon in it. It's like that show was always going to be pushed. Oh, because the Music Man, because Hugh Jackman wanted to do the Music Man in that space.
Yes.
And so even though that was so dumb, they were going to shut down Beetlejuice. So I'm really glad I got to see it, because it was going to go away no matter what.
Yeah. No, but, I'm so glad I got to talk to him. And that night was like, there's something like, if you work in theater, there's something so special about being like at a closing night show. Like you understand what the feelings are that are going on. We were also like 2 rows in front of like the original cast of the Maggots, or the original children cast.
Oh, the maggot. What's the maggots?
Sorry. Maggots were what were referred to as the children cast from Matilda.
Oh, okay. That's
but
gross.
like,
wait, wasn't the children cast of Matilda? Wasn't the girl from Hereditary the original Matilda on Broadway? I think I read that somewhere. That girl with the cleft lip in Hereditary, like the little creepy girl.
I want to say yes. No, she was Matilda. She was the original Matilda.
She was Matilda. Yeah, that's crazy.
She was amazing.
Yeah, she's cool as hell.
She's fantastic. She was so good in that role too. But like, just getting to be there for that, it was phenomenal. No, R.I.P. JJ. Yeah. But okay, we are going on 2 hours, and like, I understand that like, you guys know I can talk for fucking hours.
Usually I can too. The hardest thing about getting older is running out of breath while talking. Like I talk myself tired, or I'm like, oh god, I am exhausted from talking too much, which I guess I could easily remedy by not talking as much, but I refuse to do that. So
yeah, no, we can't do that in each other's presence because we both have like such great stories that like feed upon each other and just build and build and build and build.
Yeah,
and we just build this amazing castle, and then we're like at the top, like wheezing, out of breath, and exhausted, and we're just like, nobody touch us, we're gonna die right here. And that's fine.
And then that's when Nerd Chronic gets to deal with me.
Thrawn, that's so sweet.
Aww.
I love that. Did you just call me the Kevin Smith of YouTube?
I love that for you. I haven't even told you my Kevin Smith thing about like how he got angry at me once. He'll never remember this, thank God. But it was like years ago. He got mad at something I wrote once. He thought I was calling him fat. I was not calling him fat at all. I wasn't even talking about him. But he got like confused about something. He got really angry and was calling up my office, and the whole thing was eventually resolved. But I'm like low-key scared that like if I ever had to play him, he'd be like, wait, the Drew Grant that called me fat when my show was starting out, and I'd be like, no.
It's all in your imagination, Kev.
Yeah, him and Neil Butte both thought I was calling them fat. I would never say that about anybody, man or woman.
I mean, I will say this: I do miss chubby Kevin. I do. Like he was just like a zoom, just so snuggly and just adorable.
He looked really cute. He was really cute back in the day. I mean, he's still really cute, but like he was my type of dude. He's quite weird.
He's the epitome of my favorite human being on the face of the planet. And I think that he knows this, and it's totally fine. Like I've talked multiple times with him, where I've expressed this, literally yelling at him, inadvertently.
Like, you don't know what I could do. You should see the guy who's like beat up my friend in high school.
No, he was only a friend until he started beating my friend. It's fine. No, but I love him. He's so great. Yeah. But anyway, okay. So we're gonna close out real soon, guys. Give me 5 minutes. Any questions you have for me or Drew, send in to StreamYard or Streamlabs, whatever. The link is down below, and then we'll hash it out. We'll close out. I know she's got like a million other things to do. But I'm so glad you got to talk to me for so long, and I'm so excited to see you in person.
Thank you, Rachel. I love being here. I'm really excited to see you in person too. I'm really excited to see like everyone. Like I am going to become one of these people who comes around on hugs. I think
Yeah, it's just the best, and I've always wanted to have you on the show, and I'm like, when is the perfect time to have Drew?
Well, yeah, because I usually do shows at this time, so I canceled tonight's show so we can do this. So I was like, no, finally invited onto Rachel's show. I'm not going to pass that up. But it's funny because like Nerd Chronic asked me first if I would come do the show. And I was like, wait, what? Like, he was like, Rachel wants to have you on here to the show next Thursday. I was like, did I miss a message? And I was like, he was like, probably. And I checked my Twitter and I was like, oh, I did miss a message.
No,
I was like, you're asking through Nerd Chronic.
No, I was literally last minute messaging him. Like, I'm so sorry. I just sent in all of my footage for my promo. It's very late. I'm so, like, it was very like a mea culpa. And he was like, no, it's fine because he's perfect and wonderful and just like the best of us.
He is all those things.
I just feel so like I don't feel ever bad for letting down Christian because like
it's like
whatever.
letting down like someone who it's like letting down like a teacher you really like. You're like, oh, they're just disappointed in me. I mean, think about how bad I feel. I'm out in the garage cutting the same promo and I'm making it an hour long and being like, here, take all the footage. I think you can make something out of this thing that I made that's supposed to be a minute and like I've given to you late and have avoided like watching a movie or making dinner because I'm doing this. Now you deal with it. It's your problem.
Speaking of the perfection that is Eric, he literally just sent in a Streamlabs.
Oh my God, Eric. Of course he's watching. Of course he's watching.
You ass. I love you so much. He said, yay, Drew and Rachel. Finally got to see you chat music and concerts. My expertise, obviously.
He's never been to a concert.
God.
He's never been to a concert, Rachel.
I know. And it makes me want to like spend all of my money and figure out like the perfect thing to take him to. And not just like the perfect concert, but like the perfect like concert plus backstage experience because of my connections and my friends. But like,
dude, he would die. I think that would be like really important and special to him. So
I know,
and
we'll talk off screen. We'll figure it out. We'll try and just make this shit happen. That's magic. But it'll have to be like, and I want to get Eric on the show, but he's so fucking busy. It's gonna have to be like between Christmas and like New Year's.
Yeah, probably.
So it'll 100% be like while he's like right after he comes out of his like cocoon of coma.
Yeah.
After Spectacular.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll figure out some time because we usually do a show right now like at 8 p.m. on Thursdays, and so it usually is like we have to catch this on replay. But he watches all the shows. I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about like what would be who would impress Nerd Chronic, like what person that I have like sort of access to that I could peripherally just bring by one day because I've started having people over at the house to do a Live in the Dark. So I'm like, who could I just have show up randomly one day and it would really impress Nerd Chronic? So I've realized the best thing isn't going out to parties. The real trick, Rachel, is convincing them to come over to your house. I think that's why people do podcasts. So they can have people come over to their house and you can just stay comfortable with a bathroom that is yours and not have to go anywhere.
Well, I would love to press myself into that whole entertainment. Yes, dude, I'm actually angry that I don't have this saved. But after Spectacular, guys, there is a massive concert with David B., Alex Marzonia, and Ben Bateman at the Mint in LA on Sunday night. Guys, if you haven't booked your flights, make them for Monday and not Sunday because you're going to want to go to this concert. It's going to be fucking ridiculous. Get your tickets while they last.
Sundays are really expensive days to fly out, and like Tuesdays are less so. So that's just
right?
That's smart business sense.
So book your tickets for Tuesday, hang out for Monday. We'll do brunch at like 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be great. It'll be fine. That's what I booked my flight for. Okay.
We're saying there's some cover band and some familiar faces singing. I heard about that. That's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be so good. I'm so excited. Okay, so there's no other Streamlab. I want to get you out of here because I know you got things to do. I love you so much.
You too, and your hair looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna end with my favorite question ever from a movie. Just answer the last one, but the quote is, do you have to be happy to write a love song? Do you have to be sad to write a sad song? What is it that you love about music?
What movie is that from?
Almost Famous.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I was like, oh man, I'm really blanking on that. That'd be a great quote. What is the thing I love about music?
Yeah.
That, man, this is a hard one for me. What do I love about music? I like that it tells like a narrative in a way that can always be self-aware in a way that I think a lot of art is unself-aware, or like art can also like often just reflect the world around you. I think music can often reflect your inner state. So I love that about music, the narrative sort of sense of it. So like a pretty simple answer, I feel like, but
okay, I say this a lot, but honestly, like that is the first time that I've gotten even a tiny version of that answer. And it makes me so fucking happy. And that's why I brought you on the show. Because I love you and I'm so happy. Tell the kids where they can find you and what the fuck is going on.
Oh, yeah, that's going to take another 3 minutes. Now, you can find me on my YouTube channel. It's just VideoDrew. I'm VideoDrew across all the spectrums. So all the spectrums you can imagine. Sexuality, gender,
Just all the spectrums on Video Drew. It's one word. I'm on social media as Video Drew. It's right there on the bottom. So just find me. I have a Patreon, patreon.com, Video Drew. I'm on eBay because I sell Pokemon, Mercari, all the selling sites. Just Google that word and make it in quotes, and you will find all my stuff. I do shows basically every night and every day. Mondays and Thursdays, usually the Video Chronic Pop Culture Quiz. Tuesdays, I do Cinema Bias starting at 7 p.m. with Alex Mack. On Saturdays, every other Saturday, I have a new show with Adam Collins. Yeah, because like, you bet you didn't see that coming. It's called Why Are We Like This? And it's talking about our formative pop culture tastes. And that's at every other Saturday at 7. Sundays, I do Live in the Dark. I believe this week, fingers crossed, we have Mike Mitchell from the Doughboys podcast and from the Tomorrow War. He's in that movie. He'll be joining us. Hopefully, we had a schedule last week because he wasn't feeling so hot, but I hope he's going to be on this week. If not, just check us out. I have a bunch of fun people coming on, directors that I like a lot, performers. So I'm always doing stuff. And then I'm on the movie trivia Schmoedown. So I think things are going to be picking up with that pretty soon. And like, look for me there because I can sometimes I answer movie questions correctly, but I always answer movie questions like in a fun way. Hopefully.
You were always entertaining, regardless of the score, which is always fucking high. So please stop demoting yourself that way. Mm-hmm. There was a Streamlove that came in. Amber, I love you too, sis, baby girl. You are the best. I am so excited that you're a part of this and that you're part
me
of
too.
life.
I love Amber.
As in congruence with Video Drew's last statements, yes, Saturday, guys, it is free for everyone. It is going live on Saturday. The Collision, 4 fucking matches that are insanely good. I've literally watched 2 of them get taped. I'm so excited to see what everybody has to say about all of them. It's going to be so exciting. And guys, I don't know if it's sold out or not. I haven't checked it yet. But get your tickets for Brooklyn. It is going to be fucking nuts. Drew and I are both going to be there. I know Amber's going to be there. PJ's going to be there. I don't know who's going to be competing, but I know that someone is going to, like, 2 people are going to be competing for that singles belt. It's going to be fucking nuts. I am so excited for this.
Me too.
I'm not just excited to be in New York, but I'm excited to see you all and to snuggle hug all of you. If you see me come up, just don't palm me. That's all I ask. That's just for
don't
friends.
do that. Just in general, don't do that to anybody.
Yeah,
ever.
Just have a relationship with them before you palm. Mm-hmm. But you guys are the best. Moving forward, as for this channel, I don't really know what's going on. We're going to put a pause on my show for August. So kind of keep attention to my Twitter because I have a new job and it's going to be weird. I'm also driving down to LA a lot. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm going to be pushing cases for a venue up here called the Mountain Winery. And I'm excited for that. It's a winery literally on top of a mountain and you get to see the entire Bay Area. It is gorgeous. But I don't know what my schedule is yet. So we're going to be playing kind of touch and go. So keep your eyes on my Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Every link is down below. Drew, you are the best. I'm so excited that I got to have you on my show. I can't wait to see you in real life and give you a very awkward hug that will probably last too long for your comfort, but will not be long enough for my own love. But I love you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. And now we get to do my favorite thing. And now
there's a little bit of dog. Wait, one more thing. I forgot to plug one thing, which is it's the very last ever SEN live on YouTube tomorrow, and I'm going to be on there as a guest. So check that out tomorrow morning on like the very last SEN live on YouTube. I think it's going to Twitter.
I haven't watched SEN in a while, but I will because you are.
Me neither.
I will be there. I will be in the comments. Guys, I'll see you in the comments tomorrow for SEN Live. Other than that, like, subscribe, share this shit with everybody. And now we get to do my favorite thing. Oh!